United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Mr. Supervisor, before we get started, can I say something, please?
Yeah.
Sid told me I looked tired this morning. I just want to say that after last week, sometimes politics make for strange events, and as a person, I feel we all represent the electorate, and we should respect each other for that purpose. We're all put here for a reason to serve the public as best we can in our own ability, and we should respect each other, and we should work with each other and be open to each other, right, wrong, or indifferent. And although the way it played out was poor, I was reminded last night that it was very unprofessional. It wasn't businesslike. And for that, I'm sorry, because I've known Linda my whole life. She grew up right across the street from me. And it wasn't personal, it was political, and nobody deserved that, to be at least in that vein. And I've been wrestling with that for a while, and I'm sorry. So, with that said, that's all I want to say.
And on the subject, I would like to say that we had discussed it, 2 board members at a time, and deliberated on how to do it and which was the best way to do it. And in the past, when we were thinking about terminating the town board coordinator, we had received legal advice on how to do it, and we were told then that that would be the best way to do it, so that we would be protecting the offices that that person had access to, because we did not think that it was going to be a pleasant situation. So we were told that it was at will, and that was the way to do it, because we did have the supervisor of the day to call for an executive session before the meeting, could have delayed the town board meeting for an hour or so. As it turned out, that's how long it was deliberated on the podium. I didn't feel that it was a good thing to leave the supervisor of the day, a young child, at the podium, waiting for us to finish an executive session. So we made the decision. A lot of people think that it was in poor judgment, but we do have strong reasons for why we did it the way we did. And, you know, it's an unfortunate situation. I did bring her into the office, and, you know, she was a friend of mine for a long time too, for 10 years. So, very unfortunate situation, but we're moving forward, and we will be working together to serve the people, which is what you put us here to do.
Jim, what you said really kind of struck a chord with me, and I was going to do this, and then I got mad at George this morning, and so I didn't do it. So I'm going to do it. Slide over, George.
I teach that too.
I should have got mad at you,
I teach that on Sundays. I teach that.
So we were reading this morning, and I think most everybody believes in the Bible. I'll leave it at that. And we were reading Psalm 119, and I'm going to read this, and then I'm going to ask for something. Your word is my lamp to my feet and a light to my path. I have sworn and confirmed that I will keep your righteous judgments. I suspect that this is going to be a very contentious, potentially, meeting for the budget. And so I'm going to leave this on the table here, and when somebody feels the need to strike out or lash out at somebody, just take a look at the Bible before you do it, and let's see if we can't do this like men and women, because I know we don't all agree. And Jim, I really appreciate your sentiment.
And it's heartfelt. Believe me, I have not slept well.
It was a tough thing.
Right,
Linda's a personal friend of mine, as she is others. and I will just leave it at that. So this is going to be, I'm prepared. I have this, and came here yesterday, and came here. I was set with Bill yesterday, and I went through some things that I agree and don't agree. And so after Gio's done, maybe we sit and look at the stuff I agree with and start off on a positive note. There's some things that I definitely don't agree with, and I'll let you know why. And then rather than go and beat the heck out of everything, let's start out with the stuff that makes sense. All right?
And just, like I say, some of the board members worked hard on this budget, and hopefully it's nothing contentious, real contentious, but this is what we felt was fair, and we worked with Bill. We spent a lot of time with Bill, and he'll agree with that. So I think what we brought forward is what the conclusion that we all had made with the financial administrator, and
that
of
he
course
agreed
it's here for discussion, but this would be, you presented your budget, you presented ours. And hopefully it'll work out smooth, and I pray it'll work out the best for everybody, because that's what we have to do.
I just want to thank the board members. I'm not a friend of Linda's, but I've known him for years. We have a working relationship. And the only thing that I was sad about was that I was not spoken to before this happened.
You're right, and I
And
apologize
that's-
for that.
And that's where I'm coming from, that there should be a
We should,
completed board decision.
you're right, and
not
I
just
apologize for
three
that too. You should not write, that's disrespectful to you as an elected official as well.
And I apologized in private for that, to you, John.
All right, so
Even if I am rude.
let's, Gio, you want to discuss your stuff first?
Gio.
What not line, what line?
In the budget
Page-
itself, you start to page 225.
I'll have to go get my budget.
I just have a couple of pages. 227.
My tough notes.
I guess we can start at.
I have my ruler.
Okay.
What line are you looking at?
Blacktop Road, oil and patch.
Right, we gave you $615,000.
Right. I just wanted to make sure that, well, I gave you this basically for this, to cover me
Right.
on that. Just so you can send that to the town attorney's office and let them go over it. I know it's something new, but supposedly
I don't know if this is new or just something the town's never done.
we're probably never done. We used to
Never
have one
done.
sheet before, all the years beforehand. And now this came to light, so this is the way it's supposed, it has to
Yeah.
be done from now on.
Just to let everybody know, in town law, when the highway superintendent wants to pave roads, he must give a written notification to the town board what roads he's gonna pave and what the cost is, and 3 town board members have to sign off on it. So, we've never did this.
Yeah, that doesn't, we probably
And
should
we're
pass a
doing-
resolution is what I'm thinking, because I don't know why you'd have 3, but we'll work through that.
Yeah.
The
The
615
law
one.
just, it's a majority, I think.
Right,
that's why
right,
the
right.
law
We'll probably
says
do a
3.
resolution is my guess. The 615, the theory behind this, Gio, is you need to have a paving account forever and ever. You've never really had that, and for as long as I've worked in the town, you've never had a large paving account. So our thought was, we started you at 615. With your CHIPS money, if you put that in, you're at almost $900 or $915,000 or something like that. And I don't want to dictate how your CHIPS were spent, but we figured if you could squeeze out $900,000 every single year, your roads are going to be in good
That
shape.
would be a lot better than over the previous years.
Yeah, so that was the thought on the 615, and then plus the CHIPS.
Wasn't there discussion that the CHIPS money would be used to offset past bonding?
No.
No, we would do, that's, yeah, we
Something.
can't.
What was
That
allocated
was
for
the
that?
that was one of the problems.
Oh, okay.
So what we're gonna do is, we fixed the bonding issue, and unfortunately, that kind of almost removed George's equipment line, but,
That's
we'll
correct.
work through
That's
that
what it
too
was.
with
Okay.
reserve funds, assuming there's no snow and all the other good stuff
Oh,
stays
we'll
nice and warm for the winter.
You'll
But
live.
the 615 and the 300 would be 915.
Right.
Right. This was just a total of all the roads that we went out and inspected. That's how I was told, asked to do it. Went out and inspected every road that needs to be paved. There's a list of every road on this sheet. and that's what I turned in. Whether I get it is fine, long as I cover myself by addressing this to you.
Right, and you're supposed to give this to the county.
Just, the county,
DPW.
DPW, Gil Anderson also
He-
has to
he
sign
gets
off
one of
on
these,
it.
yep.
So 3 board members and him sign off on it.
Right, yep.
I see a shortfall right off the bat in the gas, obviously, because I don't think we anticipated gas going up 50 cents a gallon.
Right.
but-
Well, I don't think it's gonna, that's not prolonged. I mean, it's
No,
up in
and I think the
Massachusetts
GPS
and
will help
Connecticut
to
over
yeah,
the weekend. and
Cut
it's-
down on some of
We're
the.
gonna start at the beginning of the month and see what kind of totals we'll save and a couple classes on that. Next thing, we have a new line, administrative charges.
We reduced that, what, what
Now
line
it's
is that?
on, it's same page, 227,
At the end. Last
administrative charges.
That's the chargebacks?
Right. I just have a couple of questions. How is this gonna be done?
No, you have to ask Phil.
Well,
The administrative chargeback was 738,000 last year, or actually in 2011. 2012 was 768. What we did was, one of the things that the supervisor asked the state to do is come in and look at the way we do our administrative chargebacks. So they're gonna start that audit shortly and should be done by the first quarter of next year and give us advice on if how we're doing it is correct, if not, how we need to change it. And whether or not we can charge highway and how much, and what our percentages in our chargeback, how they work. One of the things the supervisor did was said, well, we'll take the 750, instead of taking the hit all in 1 year, and reduce that by 250 a year. So it'll be 500, then 250, then 0. That's gonna wait to see what happens with the state audit, but for now, he's reduced it to 516,000. What we did is we took out the municipal garage and we took out the justice court from everybody in the calculation. And for your department, we took out the town attorney to get you down to the 500,000, to have substantiation of what we're charging you back.
Okay.
Okay?
the justification was you use your own attorney through those.
Right.
Well, I guess the question is, not only how's it gonna be used, how's it gonna be dispersed? Are you just gonna
Take it?
take it, or am I gonna get an itemized list? How is this gonna work?
No, we typically just transfer that amount based on how we calculated it. So what we can do, we will do that in 2012 because the auditors won't be done before 2012 is over. And then I guess we can wait to transfer the 2013 money until we get a report from them. But at some point in 13, we're gonna transfer that money over, and depending on their report, we may have to adjust the amount we're transferring. I'm not sure, that'll really be the supervisor's decision.
But under highway law, you're taking this out and putting this in the general fund?
This is
Yes.
reimbursing the general fund for administrative charges.
You can't do that.
Well, that's what the
it.
state's
Yeah.
gonna come in
I
and
wish
tell
the
us, so.
state
That's what-
could tell
yeah.
us, cause they,
I should have bought my highway superintendent's book, I forgot.
Actually,
highway
highway
don't-
law does allow for mingling of general fund and highway funds. It's the same day. It does call
You
for
can
that.
take stuff out of general, put it in
put highway,
highway,
you
but
can't
you
go the
can't
other
take
way.
the other way around.
Right.
Well, that's what we're
not-
hoping the state.
We can't answer that, they couldn't answer that. I had them in my office during the budget process, and I said, if you tell me I can't do this, then I'm telling you I'm not going to do it. And the comptroller's office staff, all 3 of them, said, no, let us do the audit, do what you have to do now, and let us do the audit, because they're going to set a policy, I think,
Statewide.
This isn't the
statewide,
only
based
town,
on what
right?
they see in
Right.
Riverhead.
They're gonna come in here and do this, and then, as the supervisor said, when they make their determination, that's what's gonna then make the decision for all towns. We'll
But
be the
here,
first
we're
ones
just
to
following the
implement.
law.
Right.
The
We
law
understand.
states you can go one way,
Which
but you
go the
can't,
other way.
go from highway to general fund.
Right, but the comptroller's office doesn't interpret it that way yet. So we have to, they were supposed to start in November, but we haven't heard from
We
them.
got a letter about 3 weeks ago saying they'll be starting shortly, but I haven't gotten a start date yet.
I'm just going by what's in my superintendent's book as far as transferring those funds from here to here. It shouldn't be done.
Well, we'll
And
know
if,
soon
and if it
enough.
is, and if it is done, like I always said in the past, let me know what it's, just to say this money's going to justice court. Well, how do I know whether they're putting 5 hours in, 30 hours in, 100 hours in, if I don't have records of that? Or maybe the comptroller wants to have records on where this money's hourly rates are going.
That's what they're auditing.
So that
They're gonna
just-
recommend that.
And I
They're
ask-
gonna recommend something, we don't know
And I
what it is.
assume if they come back and say that we're doing it wrong, that you'd get the money back. Am I correct in saying that?
Yeah, I don't know, because we don't have the money to give back for
I was gonna
maybe
say,
in the
this
year
money
you're
is,
in.
this money is budgeted in as a chargeback. If it comes out that chargebacks are not allowable, or it should not be done that way, then it certainly wouldn't just be budgeted in.
It wouldn't be
Going
budgeted
forward.
next year going forward is what we would hope,
Okay,
because
so
if
you
we
would-
had to absorb this across all the lines.
Which would
Okay.
lower your tax rate,
Yeah, we would
raise
be,
ours.
right, that's what we'd have to do, because that's what the option before me with the comptroller was, we were gonna lower your tax rate substantially, raise the general funds, not as substantial as yours would be lowered, and it would equal out to 2%. That's sort of a catastrophic
And
way
that's
to do
not
it.
an easy formula to do.
And we didn't want, and they didn't want us to do that. They wanted to come up with the policy, so.
They had suggested we do what we were doing in our budget and wait for them to audit before we make any changes, so.
Okay.
Okay, so within the first quarter of next year, we should have.
Yeah,
some-
well, that's
No,
again.
I think they were gonna release it, in, what, didn't they say it would take until July, August to be?
Yeah, well, depending on when they were starting, they were coming back and starting it right away. So if it's well, maybe if it is 6 months, it will be the second quarter next
Yeah,
year.
maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Guess the next page would be 229,
Okay.
would be on the repairs of equipment. We asked for 600, you're giving us 400. Every year we come up short on this, so I don't understand why we're being shorted on this. Right now, until the end of the year, what did we get last year? Right now, at the end of the year, I have $55,000 to last. I'm not even sure that, no. We're probably gonna be in the whole 55 grand if we keep going the way we're going till the end of the year as far as equipment repair. So we asked for 600, you gave us 400, so next year we're gonna be in the red again.
Yes. Well, what we did was we looked at your expenditures. I mean, this is budget's a snapshot in time through July of 12, and you were at 193, so we're hoping that you stayed within 400,000. The problem is, Joe, we raised the taxes the full 2.4%, whatever. We raised it the maximum you can, and we gave that to you. I gave it to you based on raising it the maximum we can, because you've got to pave the roads, you've got to do these things that haven't been done. There's a lot of neglect in the highway system, and you're working to fix that. If you need to move stuff around, you may have to move stuff around, but to raise the tax, it's too late now, because you would have to pass a local law, as I understand it, to break the tax cap, and it's
Right.
too late. So, I mean, there was nothing, we kept you within the tax cap.
Okay.
I didn't short you, because your cost of living increases were far more than the tax cap, and
You think you're gonna
unfortunately.
go
But I
over,
think-
Gio, on this repair?
Well, we're
Because, I mean, you're
over-
under,
We've been over, I think, for the last 4 years.
because you're not on pace looking at what you've done, unless there's a lot of repairs coming up now in the latter part of the year.
The latter part of the year, according to my administrative assistant, we're looking to probably be 55 in the red.
So about 450 is what you spent?
I think it was closer to,
You only had 400,000 last year.
yeah, but we're already in the red for that.
Yeah.
We keep, in other words, we keep going over, so
Yeah.
we're asking for 6, so we don't go over. If you only give me 4, I gotta do
I would
what
have to
gotta
take
do.
it from something else.
Right.
That's the
Yeah.
problem.
But the problem I see with the highway department, his equipment is, almost ancient. And I was up at the municipal garage yesterday, and I thought they were part of the highway department, because every bay was filled with
They
his,
really should be.
with his
Talk
truck.
about that another time.
And, he has trucks outside waiting to get in to be repaired, because, and they mentioned it to me, that, they're older vehicles, they're not brand new vehicles, they're all older vehicles, and older vehicles break down,
They require more
more
maintenance.
repair, yeah,
And then when you
So
have a
that's-
hurricane or something like that, you're running them
right.
a lot more too.
And that's the problem, and that's why his repair bill, is high, because of that, and, I see that.
We're doing a
Okay.
great job on trying to keep the trucks going, knowing what's coming in the, next couple of years. We've stepped up our maintenance program, trying to keep everything running. Most towns, every 10, 12 years, they recycle their vehicles.
How old is that, Walter?
That's 1956,
59,
56.
I love this town.
But, you
I hate
know,
that
we
truck.
keep it around. Well, it's got heat now, so you don't have to freeze your tootsies off when we ride in it.
You got it running? You got the clutch in it?
The clutch should be in, I'm
If
hoping, by
Losing was
December.
really, you didn't need to smoke cigarettes, you were sucking fumes.
All that's been taken care of. That was,
That's your favorite truck.
hey,
Yeah.
it's the only truck every year you pull start it and it'll run to the
Pull
end.
start it.
That's right, see?
It'll run to the end.
Don't crank it.
Better than any new truck you got there.
It doesn't
but-
have
You
a
know
crank
something?
start, does it?
Yeah, it has a. We've modified it since then.
It had a crank start
No,
engine?
not a crank start. But most of the time you'd have to hook it up to a payload and get it going
Oh,
because
yeah.
it would sit
I
all
got it.
year.
Yeah. I see.
Nothing can beat an old Walter.
Well, everything
I
is
mean,
was
those
made.
trucks,
Everything
That's
was
right.
made real
Huh?
then, not
yeah.
like now.
I'm not old though.
All right, so I just
Okay.
want people to understand that
Yep.
we're already starting off in the hole on this, and I just
I
for
agree
somebody
with
to
you.
say
Well,
we're
we're
going
gonna have
over
to
on your
address
budget.
maintenance fees anyway.
That's what
It's
I
not
don't
just
want
the cost
because
of
we're
maintenance.
already being shorted from the giddy up. So
You know what, the
Just
real
a-
goal is that 500,000, if we can wean you off of it and keep that in your budget, that's where you're gonna wind up with your, wean the general fund off of it, that's where you're gonna get your, additional monies to
Right.
do the things you have to do. I just can't do it.
I understand. I just want everybody to be on the same page that I'm not overspending or anything like that.
And that's one of the things we have to look at this, because we can't authorize you to do more, than, is in the budget.
Right.
So we've gotta make sure this complies with the, whatever it is, the chips plus the 615.
Correct. Page 63 looks like.
63.
That's gonna be in the revenue, no,
Would be
what
under
is it?
building maintenance. Is that 65?
It's 65, but,
65?
oh, that's the general fund.
General fund. Okay.
Yeah, he's right, page 65.
Well, it's
The
just-
general fund, so everybody knows, the general fund pays for certain expenses of the highway department,
And
including
personnel.
their administrative personnel, so that would be
Does he
superintendent.
get paid out of that?
He
Yes.
does, his deputy,
And
and,
his deputy.
Does that mean the board
And the
says
clerk.
boss?
clerical staff gets paid
Right.
out of there.
And
The
their
workers
clerks, yep.
themselves get paid out of highway.
We pay 4 people.
Right, so he has some miscellaneous expenses such as, office expense and telephone and things of that nature, along with salaries for those people.
Yep.
And that is funded out of the general fund, that's the page he's pointing you to now.
The only question I have on that, we asked for 10 for this line. We only
Which
got
line?
building maintenance and supplies. Now, the only issue I have with this is if we have one garage door open or break, that's $1,500. So that's why we put in for 10. And the building's a little older. I wanted to make the building look a little bit better, take all that old stuff off and do some vinyl siding on it, make it look nice. Also,
Use
in-
highway funds for that?
this is where we usually take that from.
This is, the problem is the general fund is the fund that's in trouble.
Right.
So there's no, it's not really a way, I mean, if something goes wrong, we're gonna fix it, obviously. But where we're gonna find that money, you know,
Well, the whole deal is that we need to keep up the maintenance on our buildings, and that building probably is from the 40s. So I think it's
tell you, you
it's
did a-
due
Well,
it's due for
You did
a
a lot
little bit of
of,
overhaul.
you did a lot of work on it.
I can't speak as to the
previous
shape of it, I'm sorry, Councilman. We did spend 2,600 last year, but we've spent 10,000 already this year, so depending on what goes wrong in 2013, he may be correct, we may need more than the 2,000, but that, I guess, is where we'll have to find it, either in another line in that cost center or somewhere else in the general fund, hoping that, again, I can't speak to the shape of it, we'd have to get,
What was that 10,000?
Engineering.
Was that the new apron you put in and the paving?
Well, no, that apron that came out of other lines. I forgot where that came from.
Because you were well over 10,000 this year for the building maintenance.
did you have an air
No.
conditioner or heater
What, did
system?
you put
heating
Well,
the-
we
system?
replaced the 4 heaters. Actually, they're doing that today.
That may be where that money.
What about the wash bay? Did you,
The wash bay we don't have.
you didn't put the wash bay in?
No, the wash bay costs. That's on in this, I believe. This is like $200,000,
Okay.
which eventually, you know, we get snagged. We get
Good,
snagged.
good.
That's the only thing on that as far as that. I just don't want to be short with the older building, and we need to keep it up like everything else, but it is what it is. I'll do the best I can do with what I got.
Well, engineering's been doing a great job stretching the other town resources for buildings. We patch things as we can to get them to last longer, so I guess it'll have to be the same thing. They'll just have to figure out the way to make it work.
Yeah, now, I
We've
know
been
what,
doing that this year.
I know I asked you this question, and we're on the budget here. During the storm, you lost the covering over the salt, which has to be recovered, the roof, I guess you would call it. The the manufacturer's covering that?
I talked with the chief on that. I guess we're gonna put it for both under FEMA, and we have a 15-year warranty on that building, on the tarp itself. So I'm waiting to hear back from him. 'Cause I
I mean,
don't
the
think-
tarp that was supposed to sustain 130 mile an hour winds,
I think it was 110.
it caved at 60 miles an hour. Yeah.
You know, we had maybe 60 there, maybe it
I
just.
was there when it ripped. I was like,
Yeah,
And it blew right off.
but,
Yeah, once you get a little tear in it, it's just gonna let
yeah,
loose.
well, once they got the one certain portion got ripped out and a couple of bars let go, and then that's what
Or
set
some
the
of
rest of it
some of the metal bars let go from the
on the
wind?
sides, yeah.
Now,
Oh, that shouldn't have happened.
do we have to pay that out of the general fund and then get reimbursed by
I'm
FEMA?
waiting on the chief to get back in touch with me on that. I already made a couple of phone calls to the company that actually installed it to let them know. I called the general contractor. I got in touch with Kenny Tester, took pictures, and I sent all of them to the chief of police in Kenny.
Well, I can't, if the bars let go, that's definitely
It's
a
just a
problem.
sidebar, it wasn't a main frame.
Right.
It just was a sidebar that actually
Punch a hole
holds
in
the top to the cement.
Right.
So they're only like maybe an inch of bars that are on the bottom. So I think we lost 3 of those, but other than that, the rest pretty much stayed
Probably
intact.
when the wind got a hold of the top lifting.
It lifted up
It
and
lifted
then
up,
it
that
bent the
happens to the
bars.
greenhouse, it'll actually lift,
Yeah,
comes like a jet engine. It
'Cause
gets
the air
under there
got-
and all
the
of a
air
sudden
got
the
up
whole thing
underneath.
goes
I
up.
was gonna say,
You gotta
must
cut
have went in the
plastic.
front door
Yeah.
and got underneath and
Cut
picked it
Got
up.
underneath and just pulled it.
Is there anything we can put
There's
on
no
the
way-
front to stop that?
I will modify something.
And you
for them.
complained about that old building. That thing just kept,
That's
that
it.
stood up,
That's right.
You didn't see the video on that? All
I
it did
did
was
see it,
tap
and
it with the
I
machine
think
and the
it
whole
probably
thing
would have
fell.
stayed.
Yeah, I think you've gotta close that front up and
All
stop.
right.
Yeah, we can
Stop that,
modify
because it'll
something
happen
for
every
that.
time, 'cause
But
that's
it has,
tremendous.
it has air vents in the back that open and close. It's supposed to take the wind.
Yeah, it blows through.
Yeah.
So in the future, right, just keep it open, maybe.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
One more thing. We just hired 3 new employees, and let's say the cost.
What page on? 2
This would be under 232, page 232. When hiring these individuals, we had approximately anywhere from 30 to 35,000 left between the old guys leaving and the new guys we hired. I guess the question is, where did that excess money go?
The $10,000 to fix your building, probably.
It was
You're
more
on
than
page
$10,000.
232, that's overtime though, right? You're looking at overtime?
Snow removal is 232.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's overtime for snow.
We put it down under this for, just so I wouldn't, I'm sorry, wouldn't forget. But anyway, if we, 3 people retired and they were making 120,000, and I hired 3 new guys and we're only making 80,000.
I think we
Where's
reduced the
the
budget.
other?
We reduced the budget for that.
We have,
Almost positive we did.
I'll tell you how many people we have in for 2013. I think we have those positions in there at their rates. So we have,
Let's talk about the new rate.
let's see.
What would have happened, Gio, is that the savings would have got incorporated into everything else that's in your budget.
Right now, included in your salaries budget are 3 positions. And regardless of what their salary was, it's at a new entry-level rate, which is roughly $44,000. And that makes up your total $1.8 million in salaries for base pay. So we've included it at an entry-level position as of January.
Okay, so between the time they were hired and the end of the year, was there any extra money, being that they were hired at a lower rate than the guys
Were you
that
talking
left?
about 2012?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the payout was on those 3 gentlemen, so I'll have to do that calculation. For 2013, there's enough to pay everybody the way they are now, and 3 vacant positions. For 2012, now obviously those vacant positions, some of them have been filled between when we did the budget and now. So in 2012, I'll have to calculate when they started versus how much payout we had for the 3 gentlemen that left.
Okay, I guess the reason I was asking because if there was extra money, could we take half of that extra money and maybe get one seasonal employee for next year?
Well, the problem with that is whatever savings happened in 2012 is going to close at the end of 2012.
Right.
The 2013 budget is for the current employees we have on the schedule, so there won't be any savings again in 2013 for that. It'll only be whatever savings happened during the year for whatever time period you were without those employees.
Okay.
I think what Gio's saying is that from the time those employees left
Right.
and the time he replaced them, there was a savings there. And then the fact that when they were replaced, they were at a reduced salary. So is that increasing his reserve fund to where he's going to be above the 15% and he'll have an extra little leeway to hire a part-time seasonal in 2013 if he needs to?
I will calculate what if all savings there was in 2012 for
Well,
those.
there wouldn't be, the issue, because what happens in 2012, you had to pay their scat pay or their vacation.
Right, that's
Okay.
right.
That, and so if there was a savings and they had, you may actually have have cost you money, that's what Bill has to calculate. When you got into 2013, we already we cut those salaries down to 44,000
Okay.
apiece. That savings would have gotten rolled over into potentially the increased cost of health insurance, other things, your paving, whatever. It was already absorbed in your 2013
Okay.
budget.
And depending on how efficient it's gonna be operating now with all the new things you put in place there, your overtime budget may be enough to be used for some of that too.
And new employees
You cut
probably
o-
cost less than
You cut
vacation
overtime, you
time
may be able to
because
get
they don't
5 or
get as
6
much
overtime
vacation.
seasonals with
You
that
only
money.
get the 2 weeks.
Which is the point that you made, why you wanted to hire new people rather than
Right.
consider transfers.
That way you got them for a while before they start getting
Yeah.
all this time.
Yep.
I believe I covered everything. Only other thing I have is gonna go over to the air base this afternoon, and I believe they have a snow blower that they're getting rid of. Maybe I can get for free.
Oh, well, we love free.
Good.
We love free.
And if you need generators, they have a bunch of them in
We need a generator.
Letterkenny, Pennsylvania, which you
Can
can
we get
probably
2 more
for
of those?
free. I can get them for you, but you gotta pay to get them here.
Okay.
Okay.
Gotta take 2.
So if
So
I'll
you
tell
figure
you,
it out-
the last two you got, the school is
We
usually
used
one of
them
them,
very-
and it's excellent.
So if
So
you
I
have the
gotta
funds
say-
to get them here, let me know. I'll make a phone call to Albany this afternoon.
Yeah, we'll take
So
it.
they
Okay.
have
I could, yeah, 'cause I
probably
could tell
10
you,
of them there.
the day of the storm, I got sort of accosted by the court about the police station. You're probably aware of that, right? That I guess the generator isn't adequate enough to energize that entire building.
Well, here's the problem, and
So I'm
I'm
hoping
gonna,
FEMA maybe could look at that too.
Ken Testa, this is the problem with Justice Court, and it really, it's impossible for us, if what I'm gonna say is true, for us to have helped Alan Smith in any way at all. Judge Ehlers told me, and did we find out differently? Judge Ehlers told me that the Justice Court is hooked up to the generator. That, he said the offices are, because every time they've lost power, and I asked him, what happened was with the main 100 kilowatt generator, one leg dropped out, not both legs, so the generator saw that there was power, so it didn't turn on. There was no way, usually when the power drops, you drop both legs, and it would have turned on. It was impossible, if the Justice Court is powered, which I don't know, Judge Ehlers says it is, we'll confirm with Ken Testa. We've done everything we can do. Once one leg dropped out, Ken had to come and start the generator. By the time he did that, it was on. Unfortunately, the generator, and what Judge Smith, and what I would have offered to Judge Smith, we are working the small generator will power the town and board offices and this room. And what they have is a coiled up wire where they bring it in here and they'll hook it into this circuit breaker. They were set to do that. Unfortunately, our generator for the town board didn't start because the batteries died. I don't know why. Well, we do know why, because those batteries are on an 8 amp charge, and it's a continuous charge, and you know, even
burn
deep
them
cycle
out.
battery, it's
You burn
Friday.
them out.
And it started the Friday before the storm it started. The following Friday, it didn't start. So, you know, you gotta roll with the punches sometimes.
So it was more than just inadequacy, it was just a bunch of different.
It was just a
Different
bunch of
coincidences.
small little coincidences that
Coincidence.
failed.
Because
That's right. Right?
Oh yeah, he was
I
hot
caught the
under
brunt of it. I said, "Oh
Oh
my
no, you
goodness."
didn't catch the brunt of it.
Oh, I caught him as he was leaving your office.
Oh well,
I
you didn't catch the brunt of it.
Yeah.
Trust me. But I don't. You know, we are going to get the RFP out. Ken Testa's working on the RFP. You know, with the storm. To get the design of the new Justice Court complex. So, I mean, it's happening. You know, I
Right,
know people
right.
don't believe it's going to happen, but it's happening. We've allocated the money. It's going to happen. The chief said that Riverhead Fire Department had a line possibly on a 100 kW generator. Do you ever hear anything about that? And they didn't want it. We said we would take it. You know, Jill, can you just, and we'll ask the chief, because if we can get another 100 kW over here, then would be in a lot better shape, because unfortunately the 100 kW has a 125 draw on it right now. Seems to run, but probably not the best way to run
I'll
it.
just throw that out to you. If you need it, I'll call up.
Yeah.
See if you can get the, what are they, 60s?
I believe they're 60s or 70s.
Yeah, get the, if you can get two of them, the transportation, what was it, $1,200 for the transportation?
Not out of my budget, out of your budget.
I know, well, the school district paid for one, and
That's right.
That's how, yeah, if you
And
want to
we-
do something like that, fine.
yeah,
But I'll-
order them up.
I'll go get him for you.
Before we go, Gio, I just got some information on those two lines you asked about. So the repairs of equipment was 537,000 in 2011 and 394 in 2010. Okay? The building repairs was 3,300 in 2010 and 2,600 in 2011.
I mean, that's,
So we budgeted 2,000, so it looks like we may need some more money based on that. I don't know if this year 10,000 was an aberration.
Yeah, I don't know what that was. I gotta figure out what that was.
I just want to make sure, because like I said, the
Well, I
building,
think
the
he
building
bought-
is old.
You're at
And if
321
those
now.
garage door openers go, that's $1,500.
Yeah, he spent 10
I
grand
think
that
he,
time. I'm trying to
he
think
got
of
all those vehicles at very low rates, so we had to repair 'em.
Repair those, that may have been 11, and this
Oh,
year,
maybe.
you're at 324
Right.
this year.
So
This
that's
is building,
probably,
this is building
As far as
maintenance
what?
though.
well,
Yeah, no,
when
that's,
you're
that's
repairing
the, I think he's talking about the
vehicles you got
$537,000
from
number.
the
Oh, I'm
Air
talking about the
Force
10
and,
grand on building
Right.
maintenance
Yeah,
Well,
suspension.
that's right.
the only thing we did on those vehicles was the Mack
New York
trucks.
City.
We just basically went over them, oil change, stuff
He
like
did
that.
And New
was
York
10
City.
There was a couple of things
I
on
don't
them,
know,
but
that's all he
Yeah.
has
I'll put
today,
it to you
it's
like
still 10
this,
grand, so he
the
hasn't spent any
supervisor,
more
highway
from
superintendent of
this time in the
Smithtown
budget.
called me up Monday
He's
night
still at 10,000.
with 8 inches of snow on the road, and he wasn't ready, because all his trucks were set
I
up
can
for
find out what that was.
storm removal. I had 5 trucks ready.
and he wanted to borrow a
Alright.
truck off you.
Well, he could have, because that's how
That's
we
right.
roll.
No, no,
I'm
we're just
we
saying
were
that's why
already-
the jump in 2010
Yeah.
and went down in 2011 is because of the equipment you got at very reasonable or nothing, and it didn't cost us that much money to get them running.
Like I said,
That's
he
what I'm
was
saying.
scrambling trying to get stuff
Yep.
going. And what happens is when you're rushing to get your trucks ready for winter, hoses blow, things break
Yep,
down.
yep.
These trucks are sitting there. They may only run 4 months out of the year, but you know what? They're ready.
Yep.
And they, you know,
Yep, you're doing a good job. I just wanted to, for the jump from 500,000 down to 3, was
well,
that
now
period of time
we
when you bought
basically,
those
if
trucks.
I get this snow blower, I think I'll be content in the equipment we have. For
is
Yeah.
it one of the ones that they use, the big ones from the runaways?
Yeah.
Oh, that's, you already have one of those things. It's the same,
I have,
like
a
a
small, I have a small one, but for I could use another one, that way I don't have to
Private
drive
road,
this one all the way
road.
from, yeah, he rode with me. Took us like 3 days to get from Peconic Bay Boulevard to his waiting room.
Yeah.
So,
Well, we
Gio,
were
I think
piling all
they'll-
this-
it's all overtime, Gio.
I think the entire
Not
town
for me.
board will agree
not for
that
him.
you and your department did a great job during the storm, so I think we
Yeah, I
all
don't
wanna
think so.
thank you for that, and the way you prioritized, and, I mean,
Took us forever to do Copy Boulevard because we were throwing all the snow in Cardinelli's yard.
we had we had a tree down in our neighborhood where we couldn't pass, and your men were there, and they cut up the tree and they put it along the side of the road. I know that when the time comes, when you've cleared the paths and everything's set, that you'll be back to pick up all the debris, so I just just wanna say great job.
Thank you.
Yep,
Well,
To you
this
and
is
your
my
department.
5th or 6th hurricane, so I think I got it down.
that's
Yeah,
bat down.
you're doing a great job.
Just
Thank you.
all about organizing.
Because I just received
Thanks, George.
a compliment on you, yesterday, that you guys did a great job on the street out in South Jamesport, getting it clear.
You did great in Jamesport because you cleaned up.
We
A
were
couple
actually-
days later, everybody put the stuff out
we
again,
were
and it got cleaned up
yeah,
again.
we were actually too fast. but-
On Main Road, you did.
Rather
you know,
be
that
too
corner Harris
fast
Lane
than
there.
too slow.
I couldn't believe how quick
That's
you
right,
came back.
right? Thank
Good
you.
job,
Good.
Gio.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Don't
Gio.
stay too long, you won't be able to put your hat on.
Before we start the rest of the budget, I just want to address, there was questions asked by Steve Romano, I think it was, at the last
yep.
budget meeting. He's not here, but just for the record, so I've answered his questions. He had asked how many employees the town has now versus 2007, how many accounting employees, and the revenues for those years. So I just want to give those numbers for the record. Okay, so the number of employees budgeted in 2013 is 301. Okay, believe we have 304, I told him, was the number we have today. We budgeted 301 in 13. We had 295 in 2007. And just to go back to 2000, we had 265, okay?
In what, in?
That's townwide.
That's in 2007,
301 in 13,
right?
295 in 2007, and 265 in 2000. He didn't ask me for 2000, but I was just trying to give you a little bit of reference. Accounting employees, in 2013, we have budgeted 13. In 2007, we had 13, and in 2000, we had 13.
Okay, because I have a report here that says in 2006 you had 11, but I'll let you take a look at
In
it.
2006, we had 12. He asked for 2007.
Okay,
Nope.
'cause-
We can go through the differences between my 2006 and your 2006 if you like, but he asked for 2013, 2007, and I'm just throwing in 2000 as a reference, but 2013 and 7 for accounting was 13.
okay,
If you have a different number in 6, we can look through that.
yeah, here you go.
General fund, so what I did when he asked for the expenses and revenues was, I did a general fund and townwide because they're two different numbers. The numbers I gave you for townwide included highway and sewer and so
Right.
forth. So even though we only asked for general fund, I'm giving you both numbers. In the general fund, in 2013, we have 45,600,000 of appropriations, and we have 42,500,000 of revenues, okay? In 2007, we had 35,500,000 of appropriations and 34,600,000 of revenues. 2000 was 20 million and 19 million. I don't know that that matters, but 20 million two in appropriations in the general fund and 19 million two of revenues. Townwide now, we had appropriations of 89 million this year and revenues of 80 million. In 2007, we had appropriations of 77 million and revenues of 71,000,009. And then in 2000 townwide, we had $41 million of appropriations and 39,100,000 of revenues. So now that satisfies Steve's request that I did not have the information at the last meeting.
That's great.
Okay.
So we're gonna start, I guess. Ready to go?
Let's, before we
Before
do
we-
the, wait, there's one other thing. John and I met with the ambulance district, and I had put something, so there's a resolution, hopefully this will be one that we agree with. I put in the ambulance district that we would use $100,000 of medical billing as revenue. The ambulance district, we met with their attorney, our attorney, and, I'm not gonna say the ambulance district is ecstatic about doing medical billing, but I think they've shown a commitment to do the medical billing. And their attorney actually works for one of the districts that does medical billing. I think he works for 11 or 12 districts or something like that. And so, they're going back to make a list of questions that have to be answered, so we can move forward with medical billing. My pledge, if you will, to them was if as long as you're moving the medical billing ball forward, I would go to the town board and not use the $100,000 in revenue from medical billing, because there's gonna be probably a 6-month lag time to get it to go forward, and leave their budget this year, next year, as the same budget as it is this year. So it would be really no change. It would, there would have been a small tax decrease in the ambulance district. Now is it just a tiny tax increase?
It's within the 2%.
It's within the 2% increase. So there'll be a resolution to change my budget to keep the the revenues the same without using medical billing. And they understand in 14, right? In 14, that medical billing would be part of their revenue stream. So I think that was a pretty good compromise with them.
So what did we
I
cut
don't
out in
think
10
that-
to 13?
no.
It was like 100,000?
Well, if you go to,
Yes.
the expenditures remain the same. The ambulance district or company actually put the same exact expenditure budget, appropriation budget forward as they had the last year. So those costs didn't increase, there were other costs that did. But the change in the budget, if you look at page 368, and this is Fund 120, which is the ambulance district, it was very simply, we cut $100,000 off of property taxes and estimated insurance recovery is the name of the account we used for $100,000. The resolution is reversing that, making it 0 for 13 and increasing the taxes by the 100,000, which will still keep us within the 2%. And then we'll have to wait till 2014 to see what kind of billings the insurance recovery will bring in.
The problem I see with the ambulance is we're not gonna stop billing for 6 or 7 months, by the time everything gets finished. It's not time enough to put money into the ambulance this year. But if we start billing in 7 or 8 months from the beginning of the year, then we'll know monthly what we're receiving, and then we can use that for, the budget next year.
I agree. I wanted to leave the ambulance budget intact for 2013 as it was in 2012 until we made
Yep.
sure that we had
I
enough to
think this,
cover.
yeah, there's a lot, this is informed.
Speculation, right?
Yep.
I didn't
And,
look
and
into some
while we're on
insurance.
the ambulance, we spoke about this, they're requesting a new ambulance because in their contract, they have every 12 years that a ambulance will be replaced. And we spoke to them about that, and the 12 years is up. And if we bid it out now, we will get, trying to get 12 prices instead of 13 prices.
Yes, I think that's very prudent of you,
So
John.
that's-
That's why I know you wanted to get the bid
Yeah.
out sooner than
I
later.
was told about, you know, I don't wanna, just to throw this out there, there is, ambulancetrader.com is actually a auction house. I know Gio did it with, I don't know whether you want to do that with ambulances, but they have like class 3 ambulances that, 40,000 miles on
Wow.
them, that cities just rotate on a 5-year basis. So, I'm just saying that.
Good luck with that conversation.
We're always cutting edge on the aisle.
You get a
York
class
State is
3
not
for
everywhere.
50 grand instead of
Yeah,
200
things
grand.
on
I
No,
mean,
but the problem
York
with a
State, don't
city
take away from
ambulance is the 50,000 or 40,000, it's like 100,000 miles out here because of the bouncing in the roads
Right.
and.
I'm just talking about the way
and-
I'm just talking about
you
the
know,
equipment, the equipment on them is worth.
So-
Maybe not for that. Some of
Oh,
it.
you've
I'm
heard
not
about that?
having that conversation.
You already did, you already thought of that?
No,
I just-
I don't want to have
Well,
that.
I'd just like to give a quick overview without.
You don't know what we're dealing
Okay,
with.
I don't know if we're ready.
just quickly,
look
the
and
other
save
side,
money.
the other side of that $100,000 is on page 365, where you see the taxes were 1,223,000, and they were down from 1,303,000, so obviously now they'll be 1,323,000. They'll be up 20,000, just about $20,000. That's the other side of the changes. Okay?
And just
Okay.
let everybody know, every meeting I go to, outside the town here, with our constituents, I always mention the ambulance billing. Nobody has
Yep.
said anything bad. You should have started this a long time ago. So this is what the citizens think, so.
Yeah,
you
hopefully
know.
we move forward with
But
that.
there's some new programs I don't
That's,
know, with Help
yeah.
in New York.
I just tell 'em we
All the new
need-
businesses, and most of them are cut rate
Yep.
policies, Empire Blue Cross offers it. New businesses with no insurance before, it's gonna be mandated now. Most of them, because it's a cut rate that you offer, unfortunately, and I'm still investigating, said no company that came to me that they don't offer ambulance service in there.
Yeah,
All right, well, let's
But
not
that's
do
another
ambulance.
discussion. I don't think
We're
that's-
just that,
we're just-
if the budget,
we're all
if the
moving the
board,
right way.
is the board okay with putting the 100,000 back in, we'll put the 100,000
Yeah.
back in.
yeah.
All right,
That's the point.
what
But
I
the
just-
only thing that I just want to clarify is, it was, okay, so the budget was 1,303,000. Oh, no, that was the revenue. 1,341,975. Right? For the current budget for 2012? On page
365.
365.
1,000,000, yes, 1,341,000. I just saw that number as a.
975, that's correct.
Okay, and then you're going to be budgeting for what now? said you're gonna add
100,000.
100, and then he said something about another 20,000.
No.
Okay.
All I was pointing out was that the increase in taxes from last year is gonna be, we were decreasing it by $80,000 because we had $100,000 coming in as,
Okay.
as anticipated revenue.
Got it.
Now we're gonna increase it by 20,000.
Okay.
Which is way under the 2% cap.
Good. Because it was the 80,000,
Yeah, what-
that's what wasn't part of our last conversation. But it was reduced by,
Okay.
Yeah, well, this is all coming up to us now. Okay, so we're
Okay?
good on that, everybody? Yes.
yeah.
Yes, and just a quick, before we get into numbers with Bill, I just want a quick overview of what these numbers mean. The first three columns are basically savings that we had found, and some are revenues that we had found, and then, of course, some are changes to the post-tender budget. They all get subtotaled, and there's a number we came up with, and that's what we'll discuss today. The last column is discretionary board decisions. We have to look at them because you would need a majority board to do them.
Are you looking at this?
I'm looking at this. Discretionary, yes, I think it's the same one. So that's discretionary board decisions that we'll discuss today also, because you need a majority for that. If you go to the second page, they're mostly personnel issues, and they're all personnel issues.
This?
Yes, that one. And if you look on there, what we look, and I try to get a consensus from the majority of the board, because there's other things that came up and we didn't put them out because we didn't want to put something out that wouldn't have a majority. One of them was the personnel officer, and we can discuss this later. The other one was the youth bureau director, which we're looking to put in effect July 1st, and we can discuss that later why. Another position, that would the two we'd add. The additional cut would be the part-time building inspector. That'd
Which
be
we all
effective on
agreed
May.
upon.
Which we all agreed on. But we can discuss that and go into reasons if we want to. The last one is the salary
Well,
increase
wait,
deferrals.
Wait, we
That was
talked
the-
about the part-time building inspector, but you have to leave
It didn't,
the
right. That's what
money
just-
in. You can't
Right,
cut
we
the
discussed
money.
that. That came in this column. That's why we didn't have Sharon's in here, because we left that in. The balance,
Because the
30,000.
difference between Sharon's
Right.
and the building inspector would be the senior building
Right,
inspector's
which
salary.
we can, right, so we would end up leaving that in, we leave in
But we
the
left that
30-something.
in.
That's in, and hers is in already, but this was already printed out. The other one would be salary increase deferrals, and these are different elected officials and some, department heads, whatever, that had come forth and said they would give back their 2.8% raise. I will say to the credit of town supervisor, he didn't put his raise in the current budget. So we appreciate it. But these are numbers that we had come up with that the 2.8 would be returned.
Right.
So just an overview, we can go in discussion.
Accountant is giving up the 3570. That would be
That would be me, and I just want to apologize to George. I did have a conversation with George, and we talked about how the management gave back in 2011 in order to save one person when there were cuts made. And I said to him, I'd be willing to do that again if it meant saving somebody, but my intention was if we had enough people to save to cut that, that's fine.
Well, we'll see
Obviously,
today.
he's now,
We'll
obviously
see
now
today,
he's
Justin.
putting that as,
cut.
me solely out there, so I just wanted to make that
Okay.
comment.
Yeah, you made that
If I-
clear.
if I
And I asked you again the second time,
misrepresented-
and you said if it was, it's still the same. So but we'll see where this
Okay,
plays out.
I just wanna make
We may
clear,
need
I
to save the
apologize if
personnel. Right, okay, appreciate that, Bill.
But George, I
So
don't
going
see
back
where
to,
you and I were giving up our raises in here.
It's in the second page.
Second page.
So we want to talk about the youth bureau, why we did part-time? Is that, we want to discuss that now, or we want to go into the numbers at first?
I would go into,
the
let's
numbers
go
first,
into the
okay.
numbers.
All right, good. So Bill, we sat down with Bill, different council people, and these are numbers that we had, they can change, that we had come up with as of yesterday, and then there's the discretionary ones, which we understand will definitely be debated. So, you want to start with the three columns, Bill? We have the actual,
God, you can,
okay, the actual savings are there, then we had some revenues that
Let's go,
department.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go line by line.
We're gonna go
Okay,
line
good.
by line.
Line by line.
All right, accounting salary, for everybody that's following this, if you have this schedule in the audience, there's an accounting salary of $4,094. That was something that should be cut, that wasn't supposed to be in there? That should be cut, correct?
another one
Correct,
of
it
these?
was my
So-
proposed
Sorry,
increases
John, do you have one
that
of
you
these?
did not approve of,
No,
and I
I have
voted
one.
it.
Yeah,
You have another one?
the big one was.
All right, so that 4,094,
Thank you.
The big one. You should have a small one, Jim, there, John.
you have this one?
I
Small one?
got
Yeah,
mine.
yes, it did.
I don't know what
Yeah,
it is.
this, I have copies.
Oh, he gave it up.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
There you go.
I don't know what these were.
You
Why does John's look
you
different?
got a copy, right?
Yeah, I got a copy. Take this one. You
So the $4,094, that
That's
is
real.
potentially a savings. I agree to that.
And that came from?
There were, what
They were-
I originally had planned to
Estimates.
do was, and we didn't do it, we wanted to try to put aside a pot of money. You know, if you're doing your job in the town, I'm not looking to give you a raise. If you're doing your job really well, I don't think the town board's looking to give anybody a raise. But when you have exceptional employees in this town, I tried to set a pot of money aside, which I couldn't do, that if you had like Jean Molosky saved us, I can't even remember how much money she saved us. I mean, that woman has made her salary probably from here until she retires. There are certain employees that are exemplary, so we wanted to put a pot of money in, and we didn't do it, and this was part of that, and it shouldn't have
And
been
I
in there.
left it in there when you
It shouldn't have
told
been
me
in
to.
there because we didn't do it, so that should have come out.
Okay.
The next one.
Equipment.
Tax receiver longevity. I want to, because I don't want to steal your thunder, George. A
Well-
lot of this actual savings, we did the budget on the 30th of
Oh,
September.
yes, I understand
So
that.
I don't,
No, that's
we
right.
don't know.
We only could
No.
work, Sean, this was a great document, we only could work
It
off of
is.
this. But I agree with you.
So
A lot of these
So,
changes
but whatever,
are,
at least we could put them back, it's a positive for the town.
a lot of these changes
However they were
are
found. Number of them
post-tentative
said, yeah,
budget. You know,
post-tentative, right.
the
understand.
transactions occurred
You could work from
after
that,
the
yeah.
budget was presented,
No, that's
so
not,
just.
we understand that.
Right, so
So
tax
that's-
receiver longevity, since the election occurred, that tax receiver longevity, she's not getting that, so
The
that's.
salary, actually.
Or
Salary, longevity, and cleaning and clothing all have
There's
changed.
a few of them down there,
We
right.
had to budget for the worst-case scenario, as far as the salaries we'd have to spend, and because of the results, we can save that money now.
Okay,
Right.
so we're gonna cut that. We're going
Let's
further
check.
down the line.
10 grand.
Yep.
These are ones that I would not cut, and I'll explain why. You've got a police longevity of 1971, and you've got a, I need my ruler.
Police
Non-uniform
longevity.
salary of 1971 and police longevity of 18,832. And I'll go into the other part of this because the police department, what did we budget for overtime? 650?
600.
600,000 for overtime, and I think they came in last year maybe 630, 640, 650. But we took the police department from close to $1 million in overtime and brought them down to 600. I haven't necessarily been able to live within 600. I don't want to cut the police department further, and so there's a couple things in here that I wouldn't want to cut, and that 1971, the 18,832.
Just to finish on that thought, and
Thank
I
you.
had
Now I
this,
can see.
we had a discussion with Bill, and in the discretionary area, we're looking to put this back as the buffer for that. And we
Okay.
said, that's accounted for, because I'm not gonna push for these cuts, I think this should be our cushion, and that came up in discussion.
All right, so what I want to
Okay.
say is
So that will push into.
So the 1971, the 18,000, then you've got, if you go to the third column over, 35,450, which is your changes to post-tentative budget savings. That was that the FICA?
Retirement,
Yes.
no, that's the retirees.
Retirees.
The calculation of the final
Oh, right.
5 that
Oh,
were
right, we
retired.
didn't know what retirees were
Right,
just.
so
October
that's,
11th.
that's
Yes.
another post thing, that's a good one.
I-
The
It's
budget
fair.
was based on someone that had a lot of payout time, and then,
A different 5 wound up retiring by October
Yes.
11th.
And I wouldn't want to cut that, and I'm going to tell you
Well,
why.
that's
in
not
a-
a savings when you don't even have the budget, you don't even have their raises or whatever their contract for next year built in, right?
Right, and I want to go down, I'm going to go down to the police. There was another police department, FICA. If you look at the last column, 2/3 of the way down, you've got police department FICA, 41,754. Those are the ones with the police department. What happens with FICA at 113.
113.7.
You don't pay FICA. When we do the budget, you do the budget based on paying FICA for everybody's salary. There's always a little bit of cushion in the budget, and I mean, this is a very little bit of cushion.
Right.
My thought, and I'll just finish this statement, my thought, because we don't have the, we know, honestly, that the overtime is probably below what it needs to be, and we haven't really built in the police department raises to the budget. Those are ones I wouldn't want to cut, so I don't, not looking.
Okay, so
But
just,
these here are
we
discretionary,
relate to that.
we're not taking out, we're
We-
gonna put these back in.
those all, okay.
Yes,
And that's
right?
what I understand, but we looked, like if we stay with these columns, I personally felt this was the whole police cushion here, which is $100,000.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, so we'll stay with these lines.
Okay,
You're right,
that's
they
fine.
lead into this.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Okay.
I understand that, and I've spoke to Bill about that.
And,
So that's-
even with
so I think we
the,
can switch here. Go
even
on.
with the money that we wanted to eliminate from the budget, there is still a further cushion based on what was reported to the retirement system on salaries for base salary, longevity, and for,
What line is that?
that's this document right here where we had
I don't have that document.
$115,000 savings in FICA for police department employees that exceeded the 113,700.
That's.
You can get it right off the retirement system website.
What they're
But-
doing is they're basing what the FICA would be if everybody got the same overtime and everything else that they did for the 12 months ended March 31st,
Right.
2012.
But that's not part of our budget.
No,
Okay.
no, that's a separate calculation that they went to the retirement system, say, what was reported for those 12 months? That's not necessarily indicative of what's gonna happen in
Right.
2013, so we don't know.
So
I mean,
that's not our
there's-
number, though.
No.
Okay.
But that's
It-
from the state retirement system of what was reported for 2012, and it's been pretty consistent over the
I
years.
need to know
I
what,
don't know, I don't know about being consistent over the year. That's the number that was calculated, that.
But
I
I'm
guess
saying,
make it-
the number for 2012 was 115,000, we're only taking 35, so I think that there's enough of a cushion there to make up the difference,
I
but
don't
it's,
know what
it's
that
up to the
number is.
board.
We know that
There's
number.
2% raises between that report
Yeah.
and 2013.
That
Yeah.
wasn't budgeted for, I understand, and we have to figure out how we're gonna pay for the, whatever the contract settlement is with the police department, we don't know that yet, so.
Sean, what she's saying is that we're budgeting, we know what someone's base
Mm-hmm.
salary is. We don't know of that 600,000 overtime, how much that's gonna push people over the
Right,
base
no, I
that we're not
understand.
calculated.
but that's,
But there's no way of knowing that. You can go
This
back
is
in
not
history
a-
and say what it was 2 years
No,
ago.
that's an estimate
Right.
that's not even really reflective of our budget. So let's stick with what's in the
Right.
Yeah,
budget.
let's stay with that.
All right, what
Okay.
do you got next, Drew? Do
So
you
I
want to
think
just
that's
continue
our-
down that column?
I think we're done. Well,
Fire marshal,
800.
cleaning and clothing, $800, was that one? I didn't put that in pink, that was one that
So he's
we would
taking what out?
cut,
This
right?
35?
Yeah, that's part of the, first line.
Seniors, cleaning and
Maybe, right.
clothing.
Those two are.
All right, so your first line,
11 grand.
Well, no, Jim, we're gonna move that over to the last line. That's what the intent was, what he had said about the police.
yeah, I would keep the 1971 and
Right, and we can push it over
1832.
to-
Right, you're
Okay.
right.
All
We'll
right.
push that over to the last column, so I think that should be, 32 should,
All right,
and
so
that we can, yeah, at the end, that's what I'm.
let's go back, then let's go
You
to
wanna go
seniors.
next line?
Yeah, let's go to seniors. 'cause-
Pending, department head, you wanna just go down the
Hold on a
line?
second, I gotta, something I gotta deal with. Can we?
Can
need
we
to
talk
take-
about the revenue line, the column next? We could just keep
Yeah,
talking
well,
about that.
go ahead.
So I think now we could talk about the department head requested changes, savings, and the revenue changes that we had come up with. Senior salaries, 21,656. We agreed to that?
Yeah,
Can you
these,
explain it?
these, so you know, and I don't wanna speak for the supervisor, he can confirm when he comes back. These were numbers that, when we went through and looked at the revenues and agreed on what revenues we would get for certain grants and what expenditures should be, we can change, now, two of these numbers are increased revenues. So the first $27,000 is a grant. The last 25, the last in that list, 25,000 is a grant.
I thought he was looking up here.
Well, we started up there, but he
Well,
moved
now
down. He's
now
telling
he's
which ones
here,
are
now he's
revenue.
on these here. Yeah, so this and these two, those two, 27 and 25 are revenues that we're gonna receive from a grant, so that would increase our revenue, doing the same thing.
Right.
saving us money. And then the rest of those lines, with the exception of the 2,500, are salary savings in the same department. The 2,500 is another department's salary savings since the budget that the department head said, yeah, we can do without that 2,500. That's Ray's who's here. If he wants to speak about it, he can. So those are savings that were agreed upon by department heads since September 30th. So that 108, and again, I believe the supervisor's on board with that. He
Right.
can confirm when he comes back.
Right, okay, so that would be
So
the next column.
this is grant money that we've gotten consistently every year, and it's a dollar for dollar match that wasn't recorded as
Just
a
got
revenue in the
lost.
budget. So
Keep
we're
that
just
one.
adding it as a revenue.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
right.
The
Yeah.
only thing, and I don't know if we just understand it differently, I'd like to find out. It doesn't matter for these numbers, but I'm not sure if that dollar for dollar includes benefits. So in other words, if we're paying, because I know at one point they said we're getting reimbursed $14 when it only costs us $13.80. So I don't know if that $14 includes everything and if that covers our benefits. But short of that, this is dollar for dollar that can be added in revenue and be added in expenditures, and we may have some benefits cost to that, but not material.
Yeah, and you've got that covered somewhere else in here with,
Yes,
with the
yes,
extra
that's
benefits.
part of the other social
that are for-
security, right, that's
Right,
what we-
because you said the part-time employees, all the part-time employees throughout the town, you hadn't budgeted for FICA
That's
and things of
FICA,
that nature,
correct.
so you
Yep.
have that somewhere else in here.
So,
So I
These
guess,
are all
that-
po- these are all positive additions.
yes, that's, well, we're gonna increase revenue and decrease expenditures, in essence, reducing the cost by
Yeah, Jim has,
$180,000.
you have the same thing, yeah.
Plus
He has
that.
the same thing you have.
okay. Okay, so now, if we're ready, we would go on to the next column, which is changes post-tenant budget savings. Okay?
Okay, go
We're in
ahead.
the third column now, and the first one would be tax receiver salary, 8,000. Okay, can you explain that?
Bill?
Yeah, those three, the supervisor just mentioned, those were three that can be
Right.
deducted from the expenditure side because of savings
Right.
in
Expense,
salaries in
right.
that department.
They were gonna take out the police instead of payout.
Yeah, there was a
35.
there was a change in, and the other side is reflected down below, but there was a change in someone wanting to buy back their insurance versus getting paid for insurance, and that's reflected in the next two numbers down below.
Okay.
So the total of all those post-election or whatever it may be is $48,000.
48,000. I think everyone has agreed to that. Well, the supervisor has to put in.
I,
What's that?
Tax receiver cleaning and clothing.
All civil
what
service
happened-
employees get a clothes cleaning allowance, and because the deputy receiver is no longer a union position, it's an appointed position, we eliminated the $400 for the clothes cleaning allowance.
Actually, 35,000.
yeah, the 35 is not.
That's
The-
police.
Right, 35
Yep.
is backing out of there.
But that line totals up
So-
to 48,346, so we're just
The
waiting.
salary for the tax receiver to bump back
10,
was an
5,
$8,000 savings. Longevity was 2,100, and cleaning and clothing was $400. That was all savings based on the result of the elections.
Right.
Okay? So I believe all of the rest of those were, Jim just did point out that the supervisor was looking at that $35,000 for the police raises. He had put that in the other column.
Most of these
And you're being
are
optimistic on your
after
overtime as
the
well?
supervisor, put his budget in, that changes, were made.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, so it was, yeah. So of course, when we get to the subtotal savings, we come back, to the 189. And I think what we all need discussion now is on the discretionary board decision, changes, which I know we wait for Sean to talk about that.
I'm sorry. So, Sean, we just finished the third line, and I guess the question now is on that third line, how much of the 48? I know that you wanted to put the 35,
Back in.
leave that there for police. That would make
Well,
that
on the second line, I think I agreed to cutting
the whole 108, correct?
the whole 108, yeah.
And again, just
We
to
didn't know
reiterate,
that we were getting that
52 is
information.
increased in revenues, and 56 is decreased in expenditures.
We had
A lot
no
of it
idea.
nobody was aware of,
Right.
and a lot of this was post-election
Yeah.
stuff with the.
No, this
protocol.
wasn't. Somebody should have been aware of that, but
So the 12,896, George, is the 48 minus the 35 that the supervisor asked to keep in for police.
Well,
It comes out to how
just-
much? 12?
Could that go in a discretionary column?
12,896.
This is what, the 35,450 for discussion?
Column.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's
can-
what he wants, that's what the supervisor wants to discuss, keeping in there for,
All right, so we'll
Please.
move that
right,
over
I
to
don't want
here.
to cut that.
Okay,
See,
but can
this-
we put that in discretionary
Yeah.
and so eat some of those items up?
Okay.
What do you mean, put it over there? I don't know what that means.
Well, we
We
have,
have to discuss it.
for the cushion, I mean, you're looking to build somewhat of a cushion because of
Right,
that, am I
so-
agree? So the 96, I'm just looking if
So
we
you're
could
gonna
move
make
that.
this 35,450, is that what you're saying over here?
No, actually, if you take the
No, no.
35 out of the grand total, it's
I
only
wanna take it
12,000.
out of the 96, that we won't even have to nickel and dime.
So we're,
You're gonna add it to that.
add it to the
96.
96.
You wanna
anyway,
add it to the
calculate
96.
discretion.
Right, but this is showing as a cut, the 96.
Right, and I
So we
think,
would be adding or taking it away or just eliminating
I
it
think
completely
that-
and don't have any savings there.
I think what the supervisor's saying is he wants to move that 35 into that 96 column for board discussion for 3 votes.
Yeah,
Is
that's
that
what
Oh,
you,
correct?
okay.
that's what you
Oh, I see what
just
you're
said.
saying.
He wants to make
Oh,
that
I thought we were
100
inside now, but
No, that's
okay.
what you
I'm
just
getting
said.
ahead of myself here.
What he wants to do is move this
450
35
should
here
go
to
over
make
here.
this.
Yeah, because I don't want to, I
This is
personally don't want to
97.
cut that, because that's a
10,
cushion we're
Then we
going to
can
need.
look at this.
6,
Okay,
7,
so
8,
what is
9,
That's
the,
that's the
12,
So
9,
what he's
10.
saying is
so we
taking
finished the
this,
third column?
Moving it to
Yeah,
here,
we would,
to make this
I'm
one
looking at
third,
it.
and that's what you're gonna now discuss.
Still, I think on the FIFE, that 8063, the tax receiver, all that, I was okay with that.
Yeah, the 35, I believe, is the only one you moved over, saying you
Right,
wanted to keep
okay.
that.
Yep,
I
yep.
don't know why they were in parentheses. So I don't, subtotal savings, so, okay, I don't know what that means either.
You have to subtract the 35 of here.
So
That's
it's-
everything in columns 1, 2, and 3. Just moved over into one line for the subtotal to add those 3 columns up to
Okay, so let's-
189,000.
we ended up with 13 now in that column instead of 48. That'd be 13,346, am I correct? Post tenant changes, that 48 would get reduced by 35.
I have
You
12,896.
got 12.
Yep.
What I have is, the supervisor looked to move the 35,000, the 1,900, and the 18,000 over into the board decision column. So the first column goes from 32,097 to 11,294.
That says 11, I don't know why it even.
Longevity
Okay.
too, right?
Okay,
Yeah. The second column is still 108. That was all agreed upon, the 108, everybody agreed upon, I believe. The third column went from 48 down to 12,896.
Right.
So what we shifted into the 96, or the board column, is the 35,000, the 1,900, and the 18,000.
and what is that,
That total
96?
comes out to
So that's gonna be 35,450.
18,832,
71, and 18,
832,
832. So that's an additional 56,252.
96,637.
And 96,637 is 152,889.
154. 152,
Yeah, I'll do it again.
889.
I'll do the
All
numbers.
right, I
again.
have 154. I might have been off. I did it in my head.
Oh, well, that explains
You're
it.
doing, huh?
That
Pretty
explains it.
impressed,
I
actually.
do the same thing, I can't.
$2,000 off, huh?
That's a great movie.
We got 35,450, 1971, and 18,832 is additional. I got something in my memory here.
Oh, for crying out loud.
It doesn't really matter what the total is, because we gotta
Okay,
go through.
We gotta
Yeah, right.
go through them, okay.
I was just curious. So it's 152,889 is money that
We
through,
may cut or
That's
we may
the
not
sa-
cut.
That's the savings.
That's the last.
that's squeezing every little bit of water out of this
That's
water.
right.
So, right, so 152,889 is what we're working on.
All right, let's go, then we'll just go,
Line.
let's start, the 2,200 for their accounting, we would cut that, right?
Well, I'm asking we spoke about the inventory clerk, and we used to have seasonal kids, and it was a $13,000 budget. We now have one person. We're 3 months behind on 2012 because we had somebody leave, so we're 3
We've
months
been
behind
using that
accounting
person,
We've been using that person to fill in for for the person who had a
and we
3-month
used
leave
her
of absence.
and other departments
So I
used
may
her.
need that to finish up 2012 and complete 2013. If I don't use it, obviously it goes back in the fund balance. If I use it, we won't need it again in 14 once we have the inventory clerk, the call-in inventory done, and the clerk that's doing that.
So in other words, you wanna cut $2,200.
I'm asking to keep it in. I'm asking to keep it in. That's a board decision whether you're gonna allow me to have that extra, that money.
That $4,000.
The 2,000.
No,
Oh,
The
2,200.
2,000.
Yeah, the 4,000, we agreed to
Squeeze
take
a
out
little
the
bit.
2,000 is what
Yeah,
I'm
the
asking the board to keep
2,200.
it.
You
I would-
budgeted for 10 and you estimate that it's gonna cost
Budgeted for no, we budgeted for 13,
13,
but the call-in inventory clerk can only cost us 10,008.
right?
So that, this is if we can't get it done because we're 3 months behind, and I need to have either a seasonal person come in or even overtime or whatever it be to finish that task.
Because he has a part-time employee in the accounting department that works 17 and a half hours a week one week and may only work 5 hours the next week. So according to the civil service law, right, Bill, they can only make 10% of what that position would cost as a part-time?
There's two things that we have to clarify, myself and Meg. One position allows you to work 17 and a half hours regardless of the salary.
Yeah.
The other position allows you to make 25% of what a full-timer would be, okay? So that 25% is the 10,800.
Right.
My understanding of the position was that I could have someone come in for 5 hours this week because they worked 30 hours last week, because that's when they were counting the inventory with the department, whether it's the police or
You're
whatever it may
averaging
be.
out.
That was my understanding, it would have been maxed at 10,008.
I'm not really worried about $2,200.
Regardless of which
I mean,
way it
you
is,
cut-
what
you
I'm saying
cut
is I'm 3 months
2,000.
behind, and I would like to have that to cover that. To
Yeah, it's
cover
gotta
in
get
in
done.
case we can't get it done. So it's the board decision on whether, if it winds up being where I need a seasonal person to help them finish counting or whatever it
Or
may
you're
be.
gonna wind up having an employee do it.
An
I don't
employee-
have a
right.
problem with leaving
So
$2,200 in.
that was a reason for
Yeah.
my request to this board to keep
I
it
don't
in.
have- I don't
It's
have a
really the
problem.
board's decision,
I don't have a problem.
okay?
You're right.
Um,
I mean, I'm just thinking that, you know, if we could just tighten it up a little bit and, you know, make it happen.
You wanna
know,
make
'cause
it
everyone's-
2,000?
Yeah, because everybody's squeezed in every department to
So
speak
why don't
to.
we leave 2,000? You wanna leave 2,000 in, George?
Yeah, just leave 2,000.
Okay, we'll leave 2,000.
I just, it's just.
Might as well just
Okay.
leave the 2,200 then.
Well,
That's
we-
fine, 2,000, 2,000. All right. The
Okay.
printing, I'm concerned at the printing that you cut the budget $1,000. And I say that because the accounting department prints everything.
Right. Well, I think when I spoke with Bill, and at the time you were on board with it, you're looking for, say,
for new
$4,000.
There was a list of things.
There was a list of things we went through.
He
cut
And you
out
were gonna
two
have
pieces.
2 of this and 2 of this, and you said you'd take 1 of each.
Well, he cut out 2 pieces. He cut out
Yeah,
one of
this
the
is,
scanners and he cut out
this
one
is
of the.
computers, right?
Right, but you still have,
Yeah.
you're
Well,
gonna
there was
have,
a listing. One of them was the printers. There was a list of $5,000 of which,
Of which?
2 council people wanted to cut that down and take 2 pieces out.
And we compromised. We
that's-
said, Bill, can you live with this? And he said, absolutely, I can live with this, because it was a matter of having 2 monitors,
You would
I
have the
mean,
equipment,
on
just
one
not as many.
desk, or 1 monitor, where
Well,
they,
well, I really needed 8 and I requested 4.
Yeah.
What we actually agreed upon was an extra scanner, for payroll and an extra,
Yeah.
tablet so we can do VMware.
And
VMware we're doing, instead of
can-
having 2 of those.
I can see why you put in, it's easier to have 2 on your desk, because if you're talking to somebody and you have 1, you can put the other one to compare, instead of shutting this one down, going into and compare it, then turn it back on. It just saves time. I
Well,
thought
and
it
being
saved time.
paperless,
Well,
we're
with
constantly looking
spreadsheets.
from one,
Right.
from a spreadsheet to FMS
Yes,
and
I
so
just
forth
thought
and so on.
it
this
saved
is something
time.
that
Right,
you
but
agreed
with-
to and that we
right, would
compromised
they-
on.
that's what the agreement we came to,
Would
that's
they
why
re-
it's here, I'm not just
Right.
trying to pull something,
Yeah,
he
so-
said he could make
But
it
what
work.
what you requested to cut out of that was not that. I asked for 4 instead of the 8 I needed, because I couldn't expect to get 8 all
Right.
in 1 year. But what they requested to cut was I needed 2 scanners and 2 of those tablets in order to go through VMware. And that's where they said, we'll take 1 scanner and 1 tablet out. So it's not affecting the printer that I needed, and it's not affecting those monitors. It's a scanner and a tablet, which I'm okay with. We'll
Okay.
have to do with 1 of those,
Okay.
each of
Okay,
those
well,
next
that's-
All
year.
right, so we're
Yeah,
cutting that
that's right.
$1,000?
So that 1,000 we're gonna cut
Well,
out.
that's,
Okay.
just to clarify, now this is, I realize there was a lot of meetings.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's up to you to tell us what's
Yes.
going on, so it's.
So that's what happened. I agreed to take 1 of the scanners, and 1 of the tablets, and the other one we'll put off till the next one.
Okay,
Bully
good.
for you,
Okay.
okay, good.
good job,
Now we're down to
Ross.
35.
getting anxious.
Now we're down to 35.
That's why I brought it. The next one was 35,000, but that's a great Bible with the, all the history in it. Not
Could-
biblical history.
Yeah. I
Could-
understand.
What?
I think there's possibly a way we could work that back in, but we'd have to look at the bottom section and say.
You wanna go to the
we-
bottom
We
first?
won't cut any of this, and then we can take that. You know
Well,
what I'm
I mean,
saying?
20%, that's not, I mean, if you can do without it for, I mean, $1,000, that's a good compromise.
Okay, so, starting with the,
I don't know where we landed. Are we keeping the 1,000 or taking the 1,000 out?
We're keeping 2,000, we're taking the 1,000 out.
That's fine. I don't wanna waste a lot of time on,
yeah, that's,
now you wanna go to the bottom, is that what
yeah,
you're
well,
saying?
because I think maybe agree that we could not cut some of this and cover your 35, that you feel comfortable, looking for that cushion in case.
Mm-hmm.
So, Bill, we start on the FICA savings, and that's 7,000. You want to go into why we cut that? Bill, could you explain where that came from, or
I don't-
That's the,
police FICA, 41,
Yeah, we have discussed that 41,000 is everyone over the 113.7. Everyone making over the 113.7 that is exempt from FICA, and that's what the supervisor was hoping to leave in there to pay for the payroll, additional payroll for the
police
contract.
department.
So this is not money, that's an actual, well, okay. I understand that we are in negotiations with the police union and we don't know what the end result will be at this point. But putting the, realizing that this is an expense that doesn't exist and keeping it in as a cushion, rather than maybe saving a job when we're going to have to figure out, this isn't gonna cover probably whatever we settle on with the police contract. We're gonna have to come up with money from somewhere.
So come out of
And-
reserve it, reserve.
Well, yeah, this would, if you.
Or from the matter that we'll be discussing at the, town board meeting in a short
Actually,
while.
everything that none of this is money that's gonna come from the taxpayers per se, because it's all just getting moved in and out of the reserve fund.
Right.
So, you're not, if we don't spend the FICA will go
Will
back
go back,
to
right.
the reserve fund in theory.
Unless we save a job
The
and use it
problem-
towards that.
But if you save a job, then you're dipping into the reserve fund,
No,
because
not if we leave that in there.
Absolutely, if you were to put a job back in, and the police department came, if you were to use these savings to put a job back in, and then we settle the police department contract, you're gonna take more out of the reserve fund.
right.
Well,
So-
like I
just
said,
don't wanna
we have
fool
a,
the taxpayer
no,
and
but
think
that's
we're
why
giving them
I'm
a
looking to see-
savings,
no, but,
and we're not, because
They
we're gonna
moved
take
it
it out
from
of
reserve.
reserve.
no, I know, but we have a special town board meeting at 12 o'clock today where we have, a tremendous amount of revenue that might be coming in that could cover those expenses, and if we could use this to save a job that I think are important jobs, then I think we should look at that. You know what, over the last couple of days, this has come up, that we will have a revenue source that we didn't expect to get, and we'll be having a discussion at the special town board meeting. So take that into consideration when you're thinking about the cushions here and saving a job.
Well, the problem,
But I thought that was gonna go into reserve account.
yeah, it has to go into
I
reserve.
sort of
It's a
agree with you,
one-shot.
Jody. I think it's important. The only thing I find problematic, and I think I discussed this a little bit, is when you wring a sponge entirely dry, you really inhibit yourself to do any sort of maneuvering later on. And so I think we gotta be very careful how tight we squeeze this budget.
Right, well, that's what I
You
think
need
we're trying to work with
cushions
the
built in for unforeseen
don't just-
overtime, disaster, whatever.
And the other,
And you keep dipping into savings to cover all of that, because there is a finite amount of money.
I just wanna finish at one point, and then George, you can have the floor. But what I'm worried about, if we get this $1 million from this special town board meeting, that's a one-shot revenue. You have 2013 and 2014, you can balance the budget without, hitting that. It's really $700 to $1,000 tax increase across the board. Because in 2015, there will be not enough money to cover the shortfall. So if you put $1 million in today by this vote, you might eke out 2015, and then 2016,
Right.
you're back to where you were.
Absolutely.
So the key is every dime you can put in the reserve, even if it's one shot, you gotta keep cutting your costs, because we gotta get, that reserve
But
would
that's
run out in
also,
13.
but you're also talking about how far do you spend? If we have $8,500,000 in reserve, let's say, and we're spending $3 million this year in 13 and 14, you're at $2.5 million. You just added another $1 million in there, you're at $3.5 million. But how low do you want to go? And project to spend your fund balance. You don't want to spend it to zero, you won't be able to make payroll at certain points, and if there's any projection. So the board has to make some decision at some point in the next year or so. Do you want that fund balance bottom to be 2 million, 2.5, 3 million? We're going below the 15%, but how low do you go? That's for this board to make a decision.
Okay.
Well, we're talking about 2015 and 2016, and we're in 2012, approaching 2013. I hope,
And our reserves are below
by
the 15%.
God's good grace, and that, that the taxpayers of this town will not have to endure these economic times all the way through that point, and that we will be able to market EPCAL and sell off property at EPCAL. And if not, the taxpayers of this town are gonna feel a tremendous hit in 2015, regardless of these jobs being saved and these cuts taking place and actual expenses, which these do not represent.
Well, the reality is that the decisions we made in 2010 got us into 2013, and the decisions we make in really this is 13 we're talking about, are what's going to get us into 15 and 16. If we miss the boat today, we won't have it later. So we really have to continue to cut and just put the reserve, because I'm bringing it below, my budget brings it below 15%, and next year the budget's going to bring it right to the rock bottom. So if we don't, whatever we can put in reserves, we have to. I hope we can sell property at EPCAL. I'm confident that we're going to get the subdivision done, but we still have to plan, the town, we've got to make the town lean, get it in fighting position to survive, fighting to
Start
survive.
now.
Now,
Starting now,
I want to jump on what Jody said a couple of, I think last month, about going below the 15%. Because we were talking about another budget,
Right.
and you were saying that you didn't want them to go below, or was that legal for them to go below?
Right.
And they were not counted in the 15% because it's not a general fund. Can we legally go below the 15%?
This,
That's
John,
what I'm gonna ask.
John,
Self-made
this
policy.
would be budget
Well, we have a
neutral.
policy though, we did make a policy.
All of this that's before you today that's being proposed, with replacing the two jobs, which are one-person
Yep,
departments,
yep.
would be budget neutral. So it would be the same effect
No,
on
but I'm
the
going back to
reserves.
the original budget, the supervisor's budget,
Yeah,
which
it would be
reduced
budget
our,
neutral.
to
It's not
13
budget.
point
It's not-
something.
I don't understand why you would
See?
think it'd be budget
Because
neutral.
the spending is not increasing, but the cuts are balancing off the additional
But
spending.
it's not budget neutral, because we, as I said before, we know for a fact, I'll put this out there, every police department, 1% in the police department is $100,000. We know that there's going to be some settlement of the police contract. So if you settle the police contract at 100,000,
12 and 13. that
for
you
12
have
and
to-
13, and you've got to come up with 12 and 13, you're right. So if we settle it at 1% or 2%, you're looking at 100,000 or 200,000. So the money right here is what we would hope to use for that. If you add staff back in, that staff that you add back in, every year is going to cost you $130,000, $140,000.
I'm just talking about 2013, and hopefully the times will be better, and the
I
mortgage
can't
tax
plan that
revenue
way.
up, and
The
everything.
Well, that's all
$1
spent.
million
These are
that
the
you're
numbers we
putting
can
back
work
in-
with now, so.
The $1
I
million
think
you're
we'll
putting.
work up, I understand.
And the the increases to other police departments, we knew before this budget was put out.
The $1 million that you potentially would put back is correct. It's a one-time revenue, and that just extends the amount of fund balance you have. I just want to read your fund balance policy, which, yes, you can change. This was put into place. Moody's recommends it. The auditors recommend you have a fund balance policy. It was put into place for that reason, so our rating was a good rating and so forth. The town board will make all reasonable efforts to maintain a total fund balance, including reserves in general fund, at the end of each fiscal year, equal to no less than 15% of its total operating budget. The town believes that this is a reasonable amount of fund balance to achieve at the end of each fiscal year, as unanticipated events during the course of the year can have a negative effects on non-tax revenues. In an emergency or need to occur, it necessitates the appropriation of funds that will result in reducing the projected fund balance in the general fund below 15%, a resolution would be adopted. So you can pass a resolution to go below that, or
So
state,
we have to
we'll
pass-
move this to
we have to
13
pass
or
a
10%.
resolution.
I don't wanna go below the 15%.
Absolutely, you can't, you have no
That's
choice.
it.
You have no
That's
choice.
right, that's
The
why I
reality
asked that
is-
question.
But that's your choice to say, you're, Okay,
You would
that's
have
your
to
intent
cut
to
10
stay at
employees, not to
15%.
go below 15% in the fund balance.
Okay, so we're gonna have to adopt a resolution to go less than 15% of the fund balance.
Yes.
Before we adopt this budget.
Yes.
No, because the
Well,
budget automatically goes
Could be adopted at
into,
the same time, I assume.
the budget goes, if you don't do anything, the budget automatically goes into effect on the 20th. I don't want to use the word, irrespective of our resolution, our fund balance resolution.
No,
It's
no.
not gonna
We
matter.
make this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Well,
Bill,
we
just to
can
finish
pass
this
them
up,
on
because
20.
we're coming down to these numbers
I
we're
just
saying.
wanna keep everything, legal so we don't,
Right, so the
I agree, John, good point, thank you.
FICA savings, 7,000. The police
Okay.
FICA savings, 41.7. You know, like I say, is reality, yes, but we don't want to cut it so close. We may leave them as buffers. We got the 11.95 for the non-uniform FICA, which is a real number, but once again, I'm looking towards maintaining that safety zone. We have the police MTA tax, and then the next big number, police hospitalization, the 28,790.
you're taking that out.
No, well.
Well, it's a negative.
It's
There's a
tentatively, but I'm
difference.
just
There's three
getting,
of
I'm
them.
gonna make a point
Okay,
to 28,750. And then we have the last one, police non-uniform hospitalization, which is 10,971.
okay.
Those numbers, if we take them all out, we're gonna cut everything, projecting it very close. Things can go either way, we understand that. So I'm thinking, I know we talked about the 35 and the 18. I would like to maybe leave this last 90,000 as the buffer and put the other two back. So the bottom line is, we would create somewhat of it, just kind of like a compromise to
Oh.
not cut as close, but yet, you know.
All right, I understand that, but let's talk about this because the police hospitalization is based on an assumption that we're not hiring the cops until March 1st. We're gonna hire the cops
They have to go to
almost,
school in
there's a
December.
couple
hires,
of
but
things
the new-
there
The
also.
academy starts in December.
so we're hiring them right
If we had a
away.
transfer,
Yes.
if this board,
Sorry, the state's calling me on an emergency.
Right.
Hello?
if this board, would-
Tired of that
if
call.
this board chooses to hire
I-
a cop
I
on
don't-
January
I don't know,
1st and
whatever.
to transfer from another district, from Suffolk, from Nassau,
Yeah.
then we would have to pay their health insurance from day one possibly, and their salaries from day one. So it could be that, I mean, in all likelihood, are we gonna hire 5 cops on January 1st?
No,
And are we
because
going to
Sunday
I was
17th?
talking to the chief. The academy starts in December, right after Christmas. So we have to hire these
Yeah, you're gonna be
people
hiring them in
in
December.
December to start the academy, right
I'm not
after
having
Christmas.
a
Like
free-for-all.
last year, they
So
started right after
again,
Christmas.
that is another, you know, how much are we gonna save? Yeah, we can save that 28,000. The total of those last 3 numbers, all the health insurances, is a $22,000 savings if you were to cut all those.
I thought that there was a 4-month waiting period before these new employees could start collecting the benefits, no?
I believe there is for police, Meg would be able to confirm, but a transfer, that doesn't
I'm
agree.
willing to leave these, we all understand.
That's
all
what
pushing
this-
us. So if you put the 35
That's what
back,
this number represents with,
Yes.
is
And
the
just leave
4-month
Dennis
waiting
to cover
period that we would be
30,000.
saving on these
Okay.
officers because they can't collect until after 4
Okay.
months.
Well, I would do.
Okay, they can't sign up until after 4 months.
Right, so they wouldn't be covered until May, so that's where that
Okay,
reduction.
all right.
Well,
That clarifies it for me, thank you,
It would be
thank
covered-
you.
It would be covered in April,
That would
but
be
there's
the
a
ones that I would
transfer that would also
put back
possibly
in.
have them covered sooner if
Well,
the
Put back
transfer.
in, and then we'll
The
just
point
leave all
is,
this to cover that.
there may be
That's
some
what you're saying.
savings there.
Well, I don't
Those
wanna
3
take those
lines
out.
combined is
I don't wanna take these out,
$22,000.
so you wanna take
22.
these out of the budget?
No,
Yeah,
but
those
what-
3 lines are
work
$22,000.
this out. This is
Okay.
all cushion money. So
All right.
work it out, so
Okay.
Well, that doesn't apply to a part-timer that comes in from part-time and goes right to full-time, right?
this won't be a credit, none of
They,
this.
they get medical right away, wouldn't they?
No,
We would get
No, they're still
35.
No, they would get,
they still have to wait.
Instead of taking the whole thing for cushion, you wanna take this, you wanna take from here down, am I correct?
Right.
I wanna keep, I
Right,
wanna
so that
keep
would be
in the
April.
budget
No,
this,
May, all of January,
this stuff,
February, March,
these, the
April,
stuff
they
in
go
pink, I wanna
they
keep in the
started
budget.
December 1st.
These
They
and
have
keep in
December
the
So you're
budget.
good with these putting back?
Yeah, if you're gonna cut those
All right,
out,
so
that's
cut
fine.
those, I just wanna balance it out, so we'll cut this. You got all-
George and I have a compromise.
Okay.
end of December.
George and I have a compromise.
Okay, go ahead.
Guys on this.
George and I have a compromise, and he says he gained 3,000, but I don't know. I have stuff in pink, and he's got, and stuff's not highlighted. My opinion is if we keep in the budget the 18, I'll start, I don't know where to start. The 1971, the 18,832, the 35,450. I didn't, the building department, I'll leave that out. And then the 3 FICA numbers, 7,000, 41,000, and 11,195, 1,100, 195. We leave that in the budget. George is saying cut the 1797, the 28,760, and the 10,
That's
10,
22,000.
971.
Which would give us additional 39,000 here.
Okay.
You would take.
That's fine.
Okay,
Does
So
that
we're
seem
gonna,
doable?
That's fine.
Okay.
okay.
And the building department, actually have to leave the building department one in. You have to leave that 20,036 in, because that's for the full-time building department.
There's two, I'll just throw out the other thought.
we're gonna.
that's on the next
this is
page.
what we're taking out. This, this.
We would-
Right, we're taking that out, taking 200 of that out, and that's it. That's all I have.
All right,
Make
so-
sure we agree.
That comes out to 39.
I think we have an agreement.
Yep.
So was that, these are the ones, I feel you have what,
Yeah, I think, go
Let's
ahead,
just-
I'm listening to, I'm just trying to get the numbers now, go ahead.
we're gonna,
Question, okay.
Leave
we're
it.
leaving in 1971, 18,832,
Right, and
35,450, the 20,036, because that's the building department one, the 7010, the 41,754, and the 1195. Leave
So
those in.
The 778 is the one I missed, that's coming out
So
too
you
then.
lose. But anyway.
And I don't, the 2,000 and the 1,000
Yeah,
at
that
the
will
top,
leave in.
okay,
Those two
leave
we'll
those
leave,
in.
we'll leave those in.
And then we're gonna cut the 778, the very bottom, the last four lines, we'll cut those.
right. Cut.
Okay, I'm
That's-
gonna do my
that's-
math again, but it looks like we are cutting 24,852 out of that last line. $200, $1,000, 778, the 17 negative, the 28, and the 10 positive. My number's right, it's
Negative, it's gonna
24,640.
take us out the 17 negative, let's look at that.
This is 778, where is that?
Just take
Yeah,
the
it's right
17
above
negative,
here.
we'll take the whole thing out
It's
that I
right,
saved.
it's right there, that.
I'm not following it.
She says it? No, no, I'm
We're all over the map here.
I didn't look at this negative.
Oh, it's a negative?
I just,
Yeah, this is
I'm looking
negative.
at the 38.
You gotta add that in?
So we leave the
Well, you're
17.
getting the
52
whole
becomes
108
101.
here too, so
21 something.
you're out ahead,
24,642.
because we're putting that back. in.
24, in total, 24,642.
Yeah, that was,
That's what we were,
Coming out.
Total coming out of that.
Coming
line.
out,
We're gonna
right?
cut
Coming out of this.
22,000. Yep,
Coming out of that total.
yes.
and how much is going in?
Well, the rest is staying in, so 130 staying in.
you wanna sit down there and see
Oh,
if he's
okay.
got those
See,
numbers
that's where I
right?
made a mistake, I got 132.
742.
I don't know.
Huh?
Okay, maybe-
128,
Huh?
247.
Go, George,
That's my
Bill,
2,000
can you
that I
see
made a
whether
mistake before.
George just wants to just check the numbers, cause I
Okay.
wanna, he knows what we're,
I come to
You're right, 128.
128, 247 is what I come.
see what George has got. What do we
Yeah,
got?
I'll show you what I
128,
have.
247?
Maybe I missed something. It's the board decision column that we're going through, right?
Right,
So we're gonna cut 200 there,
right,
1,000 there.
that's gonna get cut.
Okay?
Exactly,
We're gonna cut the 778,
right, that's good.
and then these three, which one's a negative and two's positive.
Right, okay, that one negative is 17,000.
budget with
Yeah, right? Huh?
See, I was
Was
looking,
that?
what I
Oh,
was
an
looking at, and I'm
$87
still,
million budget.
I would like to,
87.
52.
No, it's
I was looking for
so he said it was
these
87,
numbers.
just said 87 before.
You gotta take up some of
Huh?
the numbers he added to, I didn't take the 17.
The 17?
account. So if we could,
Okay.
put,
Well,
back.
that's,
Can
Say it
we,
again.
so the potential cuts right now
let me just run this by you
is
before we.
24,642, but I have
Yeah.
the negative
Huh?
17.
Which
The
I was
last
just
three
looking
numbers
at.
is all lumped together.
So I just wanted to, here's what I was looking.
26,642?
24,642.
But what
Yeah.
I was looking
Out.
at.
That's, yeah, well,
And
that's,
he's
that's,
stating
that's
now-
his total, that's
and-
his total.
Right, and what he's saying is he doesn't
This
wanna
and
take
this.
this after this.
Can you add another $20,000 in so we can just?
Well,
Yeah, we put
17,097, if we don't
And I'm fine.
change that, if we don't change the 17,097 and we just cut the 28 and the 10, that'll get you another $17,000.
Right,
That's
which
what
I'm
he's
fine
looking
with. He
for.
said 20, I'm fine with the
So wait,
17.
what-
So I'll
what-
just,
what-
I won't change the 17,000.
What's
Taking
the
that out,
bottom line?
the bottom line is now 17,097
You're taking that
is
out.
41,739. 41,739 is the new number, if we
That's
take
the
That's
it.
coming out?
That's how much cuts in that last line we're taking, yes.
Okay.
And then you've got to add
41.7.
everything together and come up with a final total.
I can do that for you now, and then I'll
What'd
just
you say,
confirm.
41.7?
41,739
I can do it fast.
Okay, plus
I'm gonna get my abacus out.
12,896, plus 108,
41,739.
656, plus 11,294 is 174, 582.
What does that mean?
That's the total of all the cuts
Everything
in
we
every
did in-
column, the 108,
Oh, okay.
right? The 12,000
that's-
for post-tentative changes and the $11,000 for, the first
Okay,
line.
that's before we do
Now
this
we'll
one.
move to the discussion
All right.
items of personnel.
Yeah,
That's before
this personnel.
that, correct.
But the 174 doesn't
right.
represent cuts because
That's right.
50 of it is added revenue back in.
Yes,
Right,
yes,
right.
it's a
But it's the
combination.
number
It's,
coming,
right,
right.
it's 120
Right,
of
it's the number.
cuts and 52 of revenue, correct.
Right.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay, so,
And so we left, how much did we leave in?
So we left 174. We left 115 in.
Okay.
115.
so
Left
110
end.
actually, yeah, you got a credit for the 96 and the rest.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Now we'll go over to the next column.
Let me just explain we have two positions we looked at. One was the personnel officer,
Yeah, so you
and the other one was the youth bureau director. And what we had thought and discussed was, and I spoke with Ray about it, right now, the youth bureau director's position, the programs are up and running. Everything's moving in a positive direction. He's got the handle on it. So I feel that if we keep it going that way for 6 months, July 1st, we would take her in, or him in, whoever the person in, and at that point, they could train again and be ready for the fall programs that come in. So if we do replace that position, if we did do it, I would say it would go effective on July 1st. Because right now, everything's running smooth, and we'd save the town probably $35,000 to $38,000. So that's what I was looking at, some kind of a compromise that would, have 6 months to work, and if we feel something's in trouble, July 1st, we can jump right on and straighten it out, either way. But we'll allow in budget for the second half of the year. That's my
Okay.
take on that.
John, you were okay with that, right?
Okay.
Jim, we didn't really get a chance to talk about this from
Jimmy's,
yesterday until today.
Jim's
Well, I
thinking.
spoke with Jim yesterday a little bit. I
Okay.
think
Thinking.
we spoke a little bit about it.
What do you want to know, Jody?
I'm gonna tell you, I'm hesitant to put a position back, but if you're gonna put one back, it would be the youth bureau.
Okay.
That'd be the only one that I would go with.
And I think, right, the youth bureau is important, because I always said that there's two things you don't mess with, it's seniors and kids. And, I think because the program's already started this year, the school season's already in place, a lot of these are already self-sufficient. But by July, you're looking at a new school year starting, so it might be prudent to have somebody get acclimated during the summer to start up new programs in September. So it's probably not a bad idea to try it that way. But I'd still like to reserve whether we need to. So, I mean, by May, things will be going so fabulously, it
may not have
it might be something we might not have
But
to.
we have to that.
But we have the ability to.
We have the ability, we're putting
So
the
I don't mind
ability to
doing
change,
that.
so I think
I don't
that's-
mind doing that.
Okay. So that, I think we all kind of agreed to that tentatively, and you have reservations. Then we'd have to look at the personnel officer as being the other position we were looking to save, and you may want to, whoever, talk about that.
Well, I've expressed that I think it's an important position for the town. I think that it's, we are a large town. Town of Southampton has a personnel director. Other towns around us have a personnel director. Southold doesn't have a personnel director. But if there was a better way to do it than what's been presented, rather than sharing the personnel files amongst the accounting department, the law department, the supervisor's office, and the person that handles the insurance for the town, then I would like to hear a better proposal, because I think that those personnel files are confidential and should be used only for the purposes of, I just don't like the idea that too many hands would have access to the file, and that they could be used the wrong way to influence somebody, or to make somebody make a decision that they may not agree with because of fear of retribution or retaliation. And that's why I think that the personnel officer, who I've heard from several employees in the town, including our internal auditors, that say that she's doing a fabulous job and that all the files are complete and they're up to date. And I just think that something might get lost in the town when you eliminate a one-person department.
Well, it's
I
not-
think that there's other departments in the town that are much bigger, that if we were going to look to cut, that we should look to the bigger departments to do more with less, rather than eliminating a department altogether.
All right, well, the way I looked at this is, I looked at the East Hampton model. They had 4 people in the personnel department. They cut it to 1. We have 1 person potentially in the personnel department, that's Jean Molosky. Yes, she does do the insurance. For the town, up until 2006 or 2007, we didn't have a personnel officer. There is an absolute way to deal with it without having a personnel officer. The reason they hired the personnel officer was because there were some potential conflicts between you making payroll and being, because Jack Hansen was the de facto personnel officer. There's a way to deal with that through the town attorney's office, through Jean Molosky continuing to do what she does, and through Bill Rothar doing, or the accounting department doing the accounting function. I'm not going to interject my office because, hey, the supervisors come and go. You don't know who it is, but you can absolutely set up the office that the conflict is resolved with the town attorney's office, and that the town attorney would have the final say on that conflict. That's why the personnel officer was hired.
Correct.
And what I'm saying is, if we did it this way through 2006 or 7, and we were able to continue, do it for that long, we need to go back and look at that again, because the bottom line is, if you add $105,000 to the budget, you're going to add it this year, next year, and the year after, and you don't have the ability to raise the revenues to keep that position in there. So if it's not this position, and here's, this is an uncomfortable decision for me to make. I didn't go through bump and retreat. I would have had in order to accomplish the same goals, budgetary
Yes, sir,
goals,
rules keep personnel.
I didn't go to the union this time. The union gave a lot. We went to the non-union employees to give to some extent this time, and if you go to the union well again, you're cutting people like clerk typists, and when you cut, or if you cut somebody high, you're going to spit out a clerk typist in the end, and so to get the same bang for the buck, you're probably cutting 2 or 3 people. So it's an uncomfortable position, but I went for the higher salary people because I know this is not a conversation for the personnel officer. I went to the higher position to try to accommodate the financial goals, knowing that we didn't have this person before, and East Hampton has 1, Southold has none, and going back to that model.
Well, I remember early on, these discussions were happening 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, and believe me, I understand. I mean, you gotta try to service the community with as few cost effective as you can, because the cost of municipal employees is just out of control, and it's health benefits, all the reasons that happens. My only concern at that time, and I said it then, and I said it now, and I probably need more discussion on it, is I understand when you have to trim the sales. You have to do that, because otherwise you're not going to stay the course. My concern is how it's going to affect the employee, and now you touched on it a little bit. That really is my end game. When you cut a service like something, the auditors at the time in 2000, when Jack died in 2005 or 6, said that really was something that should be segregated out of accounting, because it should be a separate role because of conflicts that might arise through payroll, or whatever the reasons were. I don't remember what all the reasons were at the time, I wasn't here, but if the town can absorb those services where it doesn't affect the employees in their day-to-day life, whether it deals with medical or whatever the personnel officer for, how the town can absorb that role and it be seamless for the employee. If you can illustrate that to me, I mean, like I said, I'm not married one way or the other, but I just want to make sure the employees aren't affected by a decision we do today.
Yeah, I agree, and I think you can. I think Jean Molosky is part of that equation. For the time, a lot of the employees work through Tara McLaughlin. She's key to that equation now, but I don't want to just tie it to the supervisor's office, because in case there's changes. But I think that we can come up with a situation where Jean is going to be the point of contact for the personnel. Maybe she is weaned off some of the insurance stuff, because the insurance stuff could be incorporated into the accounting department more, keep Jean more as the front person for the personnel, and where there's a conflict, you can either have Jean work the way Meg used to work, well, it still works, the department heads work for the supervisor, you can have Jean's report to the supervisor's office, not to Bill, so that removes that conflict, and when there's issues that have to be resolved, that there's a conflict, that's gonna be resolved at the town attorney's office. Payroll, they're mainly payroll issues.
And I hate to sound naive, but I am, and I've been called stupid a lot, and other things. The personnel officer probably has to network with a bunch of different, or you have to network with accounting and payroll and legal and unions. So it's not an exclusiveness to the job.
Well,
right?
I have to agree with Councilwoman Giglio. The only reservation I have is that we have conflict down there, and we have to solve this conflict we're having, and this is a way to solve that conflict. I mean, we can't have this conflict going on all the time, and we do have a conflict down there where you got two department heads that are button heads, and I asked people to calm down, they didn't, so I do have a conflict with that, because everybody knows how I feel.
Right.
So, and I agree with you, I think we need a personnel director, but I think we need somebody that's, it's not gonna butt heads.
I don't wanna go into that
Yeah, that's-
No,
scenario,
I'm
but
just, that's
if
my
you-
personal feeling.
if you had one person in the person that we always had, which was Jean Molosky, who did it part-time and kept her more of a full-time role of personnel, you have your one person.
Right.
You have your point of contact.
Yeah, but we're a
But
big
John
town, like
makes-
Jody said, and we have a
East
lot
Hampton's
more,
bigger.
we have a lot more, yeah, but they have one full-time, does she take care of the insurance too?
That's what I'm saying, we
You
would
don't
have to
know.
move the
See,
insurance out.
so that's what you're doing. All you're doing is changing, and Jean does a great job. She knows all the insurance companies. She negotiates a great job with the insurance companies. And I can't see putting new people in that position that have to learn their way with the insurance companies, get introduced. The insurance companies trust her, and as she trusts the insurance companies that she has to deal with on a day-to-day, a month-to-month,
And
a year-to-year
that's
basis.
why she's so instrumental in saving us a lot of money.
That's why she's so
That's
instrumental,
what
yes.
the
Can I-
problem
So
is.
that's my,
You
that's
don't
my.
have the money. If
Well-
you add these two staff members back, you're putting yourself that much further behind the eight ball. And I understand there's a lot of personalities here, but you're putting yourself that much
Well,
further behind.
that's why I tried to take that out.
$125,000.
But with that number, I'm just saying with this savings that occurred, one way or another, we probably almost covered it and have a little bit left to put back. But here's my argument about, I think, whether it's a big corporation, it's a bank, whatever, you need a personnel director. And I think it's confidential, and I'm very nervous about splitting it off in 4 different groups or town departments getting their hands on it. I'm not saying that's anything
Well,
wrong with these
I'm
people.
not so
I'd
sure
rather
that-
have it more centralized.
I'm not sure that doesn't happen now anyway, George.
Well, no, like you had said, or
Network,
John,
it
you
has
gotta
to network.
integrate. They've gotta work with all the different,
They
but
have to.
you
There
need, still
can't be
need
any conflicts.
these
I don't think there's any
confidential personal
exclusivity.
records
That's what I'm
have to
saying.
be under one.
Right,
really
but I don't
feel
think
it.
there's any exclusivity to any one person, to
Right.
everything.
But I know what, and I just wanna say this, but like, I don't feel it should be in, nothing to do with you, because things change and people come and go, but I don't think it should be in the supervisor's office. It's, because, that'd be,
I don't think it should
whoever's
be
there could be a little, not that you would make it, but I think it could be a little political because the next administration, and it keeps changing, it's not a seamless run, so that
Yeah.
makes me a little nervous.
That's why
I
I
would
said
like to
leave it
keep
with
it,
Jean and the town
well, you had
attorney.
also mentioned, whatever.
Well, for the way it is now, but it doesn't have to be that way. You
Right.
leave it in Jean.
And so it seems to me there's one bone of contention here, and that's possible conflict where it is now. And, being where, it is, John had mentioned his contention. And I had a conversation with Jim, and we just had a quick conversation about it, and we had thought that, he had suggested that maybe it would work if that was moved out of that building. This way, whoever's there, that conflict
Yeah.
will go away. And we had a little discussion on that, and I think that could be resolve your concerns But I personally feel strongly about having a personnel,
Well,
whoever it is.
that's why I didn't want to go into personnel. I wanted to keep it on a level of looking at it as an organization,
Right.
whether that void could be filled coherent, I mean, seamlessly for the employees. I was trying to take all the drama
Right.
and all that stuff that I'm tired of dealing with and just forget all that.
That's-
And let's just look at, as a structure, if the town can move safely past that without having that there. And it seems like we can.
Why don't you sit, because I want to take this, why don't you and somebody else see if you can form that structure? You don't have a lot of time, but see if you can form that structure and then.
Because I think
I'm
that
not-
really is the rub for me. It's not personalities, it's not
See if you-
loggerheading, it's how important is this job in the structure of government, and the structure of personnel, and structure of a working government, and is it that important?
Why don't you, I think that would be good, because I think you're being you're being objective with it. See if you can come up with a structure that works. If you don't, then come back to the board.
Okay.
The real issue for me, it's not personalities, it's not positions, it's savings. And the 174,000, which about 50 of it was revenues that were we now know we're going to get that we didn't get, is a pittance compared to the expenses we know we're going to incur. We believe that the insurance, not the insurance, we believe that there's going to be about $200,000 in payroll increases for the police department. So we barely cover that. So there's no money.
We left a little buffer for
Yeah, but they're barely,
Right,
no,
barely.
no, yeah, the whole buffer would be that 174
Right.
plus what I put in there. That would be the buffer.
Right, well.
But there's
we-
other
we
expenses.
arrived at
Let
this.
me give you, let me just give you some other, you have to look at the whole picture. This entire 174 plus what I've left in the budget, well, the pink here in the budget would cover 1 year's for the police department. So
Right.
there isn't any savings. That would be 1 year. Longevity, not longevity, buybacks, health insurance, not health insurance, what's the buybacks?
Accrued time buybacks for
Accrued
SOA.
time
and department
buybacks. We
heads.
have no idea what they're going to be.
Exactly.
We
Accrued time-
suspect
They've come in at $200,000 a year.
they've come in
You
$200,000.
talking PVA?
No,
SOA and department
SOAs,
head.
if the 4 SOA guys leave, there's over $1 million paid.
no,
No,
but
just buy back on a regular basis, buying back
that's too.
unused
But I just
accrued
want to
time.
show you
It's
that.
speculative, right.
No,
It
they're
can
not.
Well, it'll come down, but all.
No, but it's not budget.
It
There's
was
Right.
no
200,000.
the 200 the buybacks. I want to focus you in on where where there's no savings. Everything we did here doesn't constitute a savings to anybody, because the police department is going to eat up everything we did today.
Right, we left
So
some
you-
buffer in there, so
There's no buffer.
no one needs some of these numbers. We
Yeah,
get
no, there's no
a little
buffer
bit.
because that's 174.
Well, then we
your
can take all
total
these numbers out
174.
down here, what do we leave these in for, because it was projected?
Yeah, but
So
the-
we're
you
leaving
take-
a little bit.
Wait,
We all-
wait. What 174 plus the
200,
what was the total
174 is the
172
total
or
that
something.
we're,
savings plus what I left in the budget?
plus, the 174 is the total.
174 is the total. So
We
that
squeezed
doesn't
all your
even
stuff, we
cover.
squeezed all your
Right.
stuff out of it.
What may
Squeeze
come.
another 174.
Yeah, that doesn't cover the health insurance. Now, every year, people, and it's uncomfortable to say this, but every year, because it's not in the budget, we find the money every place to get it. And as Jim's analogy of squeezing the sponge, this is a problem. The buybacks from the SOA, the department heads,
Department heads.
average $200,000 a year. There's not a budget line for that. Bill goes at the end of the year and he squeezes the rag some more
Yeah.
to find it.
And we
But
still
we-
dip into savings.
So-
But whatever, okay, I understand that, but we came to this number, and all I have to work with is this.
Right.
So that's not in there, so we're
not
working
in
with
there.
the supervised budget. We understand that's all speculative, it will happen or may not happen, but these numbers came in.
Yeah, you're
Okay,
100%
okay.
right. But
So-
what I'm saying is there's another
Well, things can
400,000.
happen, I agree.
There's another $400,000 right there potentially that
We're gonna get it 12:30.
yeah, there's another
I probably would- I
400.
probably would've put
Contract.
an estimate of what we would give the police in there. I know you don't wanna tip your hand sometimes, that's probably a good negotiating tool, but in all fairness, if you did that, I think we'd have a better handle of exactly what's
Well, we kinda knew it was
So
coming out
getting-
of reserve anyway.
So,
I know, I know.
I
getting-
couldn't budget it anyway, cause I couldn't get to the 2%.
so getting back to the point of that issue, so the youth bureau thing, I think everybody, we had agreement on that, it's just personnel officer.
Yeah, there's no money
So
for
how
it.
are we gonna,
There's no money
how do we
for the
wanna do that?
personnel officer. What I asked Jim, cause
Yeah, let me, right.
if Jim can take a look at it to see if there's a way to do
and
it
we would have
without
that,
the
because we need, we're time
personnel.
sensitive, we'll have to find it out by tomorrow.
I'll do it today.
All right, then
Yeah,
we'll
if
wait,
there's a
so
mechanism-
we'll wait to hear from Jim.
I'll look at it
Yeah,
today.
if
I'll
there's
look
a
at it today.
mechanism
It's a
to
good
do
idea.
it, then my vote is to leave it the way it is. You know, maybe we get rid of the office for a year. If we give it a shot and it doesn't work, then you bring the position back. If it works, it works. It's just like the youth bureau. We're potentially gonna give it 6 months. If it works, we may reevaluate and say you don't need it.
I really just, what I really wanna do is look at exactly what the thought was that went on back in 2005. And look at what that whole reasoning was, look at that report, and then I wanna check with the town.
And then let's talk to.
So that's the
talk to
one issue we
Wilkinson.
haven't,
So Supervisor Wilkinson, you know, you,
okay. So that we will resolve in the next day, just that one issue, personnel officer. The rest, we'll all come to agreement, I think, on, there's one other thing I didn't put in, it's a small item, but it was the salary increase deferrals, which is 93.55, which would go back in, but Bill,
well, you can't ask Bill to
no,
put
no,
it
no,
away.
no, he volunteered.
No, he didn't
So Bill, you wanna take
voluntarily.
yours out? You
Yeah,
want-
take
so
Bill's
yours
out.
So we'll take Bill's out, that's fine.
Thank you.
So what do we have left? Can you add those numbers together? So that's a positive to throw back, 1, 2, 3.
70,
You're
41,
gonna
I'll
take out the
subtract it.
personnel officer too.
One,
It's on there.
1,
15, you're gonna take it
5,
off.
Yeah.
If
You gotta
they're-
take it off, cause if you don't put the
Seven.
Well, we don't
personnel
know
on.
if we're taking off that, yeah.
5, 7,
that we
8,
don't
5,
know.
11.
That's it.
And
Right
I did
now
it
it's
in my
not.
head.
We rely on these things too
I
much.
don't know what you're adding up, 1357,
1357, 1357, 1155.
what's the 1155 for?
Town board coordinator wouldn't get a raise.
Actually, I wanna talk to you about town board coordinator. You realize that you shouldn't be paying your town board coordinator when you do
Yes, we
find
discussed
one
that.
That's where she's saying-
higher than,
No, we
No,
just
it's
straightened
It's
out.
actually, no, we're gonna actually, there's another savings in
We
here.
just straightened it out.
We just straightened it out.
Okay,
We
we
took it.
straightened that
Actually,
out.
we didn't even put that in here. That would be, yeah.
Yeah, we just straightened that out.
Yeah, that's good.
But the
So you
town
can
board
add-
coordinator didn't sign on to do the leg pay or the givebacks in two
she's
thousand.
not here anymore, so it doesn't matter.
So you
Right.
have the.
So that's why
can
we
you-
just took that
Who's
out.
got a calculator? Add those first
I
three.
do, what do you want me to do?
Add those first three numbers. We won't add the personnel officer yet until we decide if we're saving her, then we can add that as a savings. So we can,
So you're adding
1350.
1357 twice?
3867 is that line.
how much?
3867.
3867, so that would go back into the, on the 174.
Yep.
So we got 178 on that number, 178, 449, because we add that back in. And Jim's gonna look at the personnel officer, we'll have some discussion, and we can make a decision.
So 3867.
Accrued time,
Accrued time at the end of the year. The SOA in their contract, I think within 30 days, if they said, look, I want 50 days
Yeah.
to, you know, you gotta.
I don't know that there's ever been a line for buybacks. It was always
No.
taken out of health
Well, you just never
insurance.
know.
Or it's absorbed in the overtime or wherever the,
yeah,
they
money.
pay it out of salaries, but they'll move it from overtime depending on where they try and find the funds, but
Basically, you ring in the rag and you ring in the rag and you hope there's a drip at the end of the year.
But the buyback was
Well, our
an
puddle's got
employee
cow, we
that
can't
did
get
have a
it.
tremendous
It's
amount of
another
buyback that he could have cashed out in 2013 when he retired and we would have had to pay him, but he didn't retire.
No, the buyback is your accrued vacation time. You
Right.
can buy it back at
And-
any time as long as you have a certain amount of time in the
Yeah,
bank.
you can buy back
I
up
thought
to
this was a
50
buyback
days.
payout. It was out of the buyback
one
line
month,
because
right?
they're under the same category.
No, buyback is
Right, George?
Yeah, up to
health
50
insurance.
days.
Not health insurance,
Vacation.
vacation time. When you have accumulated a certain amount of vacation time as a department head,
you
you can.
lose if you can't take
Right.
it, you lose it, you don't have the
And
ability.
that
to
has
if-
always just come out of other budget lines, and that's what I'm saying, just
We
those two
transferred money
figures
to the
there.
past for that.
Yes.
We've transferred significant
yeah.
money to pass for
But this
that.
year you budgeted for this employee to retire and you had 35,000 in there as a
It's not
buyback.
the same issue.
No, which employee, I'm sorry.
When you go
Knock
to,
it off.
He's going back to the 35,000 on
Yes.
the other sheet.
Yeah, it's not.
the
we're talking about buyback.
35,450 police incentive payout, it's not a buyback, it's a payout. It
Right.
was
That's not what I was
anticipated
talking
that,
about.
That's a different number. That's what they.
that's what he was asking about.
No, I
That's what
wasn't.
they still have.
No.
They don't buy back every dollar. everyone has a different accrued balance.
This was a payout for anticipated retirees, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
But how does that affect the buyout number? I'm not sure how, I'm sorry, I'm not.
Okay.
There's no buyout on
it doesn't.
here.
It's not the same issue.
There's no buyback on here.
Right, there's no issue.
Right. It was
The
a
issue
payout.
is, there's a bill that's gonna come due, and somehow that
Has to be
sponge
paid.
has gotta get wrung to pay that bill.
Has to be paid.
And
That's why we're
it's
leaving it
gotta
in.
be- You did? Okay. All right, are we done? Jim,
think
you're
so.
gonna
I have my
Yeah,
numbers.
I'm gonna.
do your
look at it
homework
right
on
now.
that.
Yep.
You know, the only thing I didn't, I'm sorry, I think I lost, the
Do we have a
additional
meeting at
cuts for
12:30?
22,213, where did we stand on that? Because I have everything else on another
Twenty-two,
line.
what was 22,213?
We had the
That's the building
reinstated,
department.
yeah, the
building
building
You have to
department
leave that in
22, we're
because
leaving
we're
that,
gonna,
okay.
right.
Yeah, we're gonna leave that buffer in
Okay.
case we have another hire.
So
Okay.
I will go back
You
and
don't wanna-
summarize all this and shoot the entire town board where we stand, so everybody agrees that I didn't misunderstand something.
Okay, very good, Bill.
You can add, yeah,
Yeah, you gotta leave them in.
I just don't wanna make the fancy about it.
Thank you.
All right,
Thanks, Bill.
All right, guys.
what's that? I guess we're good. Do you need anything else? Okay, good.
We have a meeting at 12:30?
Youth Bureau is good.
We have a meeting
I
at
think,
Do we
is,
have anything else on the agenda?
yeah, we have 12:30 meeting, and we have marriage officer, we wanted to discuss that.
That's a
Can we get
fast thing.
Diane,
You don't
come,
want to
come
discuss it
in.
no more?
I spoke to Diane.
Are you good?
Yeah, and,
So we're done.
Ask Diane to come.
yeah, it's a fast thing.
John's fine.
That, when they're in this building, they do not charge. When they, on the weekends, and on Sundays, when they have to go someplace, then they can charge us $70, like you were saying. The other thing Diane was saying is, we do a lot of out-of-town weddings here. Now, why do we do a lot of out-of-town weddings? Well, she said some other towns charge, the town charges a fee of $40. And she thinks that we may, it's more income coming into the town
Yeah.
if we charge someone that lives in Brookhaven or Islip or Nassau County or New York City to come in here and to get married, that we have a fee of $40, a town fee.
Has she been charging that? If
She
someone
hasn't been
comes from
charging
out
that.
of town?
So she says other towns,
I just
Do
wanna say one thing. Believe me, I don't care. I mean, 1847, the state gave the right to towns to perform marriages through the clerk's office.
Is that when it was?
Yeah, I researched it just a little bit,
You researched
and it hasn't been an issue for a couple hundred years, so I'm curious as to why. Now, certainly as a councilman, I absolutely find it an honor to be able to marry somebody, and I appreciate the town board supporting that, being a marriage officer. It was never my intention to make it a job, but a privilege. I've performed rites of burial in this town, I've performed weddings in this town.
You're a deacon, so you can marry
So,
people anyway.
I don't understand why this is even a discussion item. I never, I mean, I don't, is it because it's me?
no,
It
because,
came out of the blue
no, because when Diane was first appointed,
5 years ago, or 4 years ago,
it was in her resolution.
but she has
And
to do
then
it every year.
years-
She
yeah,
has to
but
do it
then
every year.
Years, that as the years went by, it was taken out of her resolution. So
What was taken out of resolution?
that she got $1.
Well, that's a state
Well,
state
that's
law.
a state law, that you have
Right.
to either pay or they can collect. So that we paid $1, or we paid $10, or,
I don't think Diane
$200.
charges, I don't think Barbara
She doesn't
charged, I
charge
don't think
in
Irene
here.
Penzick charged, I
but
don't.
just to make sure that we don't operate like Brookhaven and getting that
Oh.
in here, as somebody is working, that they should give marriages for free.
I'll be honest with you.
Outside on the weekends, I don't mind the $70
I
that they're
get,
charging.
it's 75, but most of the people that
75.
ask me to
Well,
marry them
$5
are
off.
friends or relatives
So
or.
it wasn't,
It's,
it was just that.
and I'll
but-
take a cold beer afterwards, I don't
Get
need
out your
75.
checkbook, Deacon Wooten's
But
coming
that,
for the
as
marriage.
as I'm talking to Barbara,
Look here.
I mean to
Let's go to
Diane,
Corinthians 15, we'll
she
talk about marriage.
said that
Can we
other
just leave it?
towns, and we do a lot of, no, I don't wanna leave it, I wanna make sure that nobody gets paid for doing a wedding in this building.
Do we have to put that in?
No, I don't think a board, no, I don't think so. I wouldn't even support that.
Well, you can't vote for it anyway, cause it's, you have to recuse yourself.
I don't think it should be even
I
a
don't
discussion
wanna-
I don't
item.
know why it's an issue.
I don't
Well,
either.
it's an issue because I just don't, I want this to be plain a day. When they're in this building, they do not charge. When they're outside the building on weekends, and they take up their own
I don't
time,
think-
they
I don't
get
think
charged.
it's
You're talking outside the building, like as on town property or outside?
On town property.
Go to the
Oh,
beach. You're talking about town.
During
I don't
normal
think it's an
working
issue.
hours.
I don't even think, I don't think
During
it's,
the normal
it's never
working
been
hours.
an issue, and all of a sudden it is.
Diane,
Come on up,
come up
Diane.
here. So we're talking about you.
Town property's gonna be the
Never
beach,
been
you
an
can't
issue, and all of a sudden it's an
No,
issue.
I don't want it to be an issue.
It never
I
was.
don't want it.
It never was
Right?
until the town made me a marriage officer, it was never an issue.
looking for Taylor.
So this is very personal, so I'm gonna recuse myself at this point.
Okay.
Okay.
Diane, do you charge people when you marry them on town property?
Never,
Never.
She
never.
did 5 times though in 5 years when they had to go to a beach on a Saturday. afternoon.
Right, for outside weddings on a
Yes.
weekend, they're done outside of town hall.
There's no problem with
I
that.
can charge, and I've only charged maybe 5 times.
Yeah, there's no.
In the 4 years I've been
there's
town
no-
clerk.
I just wanna have
Is there a
it
set
that
fee
we're
for that,
not,
or is it just a?
You can charge no more than $75,
Yeah.
and that's
Okay.
domestic relations law.
but then we were talking about other towns charge a fee for out-of-towners.
I have talked to other town clerks who will perform a ceremony in their office and charge as much as $40 if they are not residents of that town.
Right.
I don't know if you can differentiate that way, but we could, if you, John, if you wanna talk to the town attorney to draft the town, you'd have to pass a town code provision to do
Yeah,
that.
for charge the $40,
I don't know if
yeah.
you could do it under a resolution.
No, you can't. They have to be two separate items. But I'm saying, to get revenue, and we're looking for revenue, is that the out-of-towners that come here, we could charge a fee of $40.
I don't know if you can differentiate between out-of-towners and
Well,
in-towners.
other
I know,
towns,
but I don't know if
other
that's-
towns
I
do
don't-
it.
I don't know if that's proper.
Yeah, but other towns do it.
I know, but I don't know if that's
But I
proper.
think you had said, John, they come here because they have to pay 40 in
That
Brookhaven.
could be a reason.
Right,
We-
but
That could
why would
that
they
could
come here then if we were 40 and they were 40?
They like dining.
Then they'd go up there.
We love Riverhead, we get nice, you know what I'm saying, then they wouldn't
they'd
even
stay
come
up
at
there.
all, so.
Yeah, that's right, then they'd stay up there, and she would
So I don't know
have
if we
as
really
many
gain
weddings
revenue anymore,
to
probably be as
perform
wash.
here.
It's a
So
possibility.
I'm
Yeah,
okay leaving it alone. If you wanna charge $40, how many weddings do you do a year?
Maybe about 150.
Is that
Yeah.
state law that says that you can charge $40 when people
No,
come
no.
in
You know
from
what,
out of
that
town?
I
That's-
don't, you know what, and to be honest with you, I don't know if that's what she charges, just this one
Oh,
in particular town
okay.
clerk for her own,
okay.
I don't know
Okay.
whether it's, goes into the town coffers or it's
Okay.
her own fee. I
That would
honestly
definitely
don't
be
know
the
that.
town fee.
I would never charge, I wouldn't charge here for the town residents here in town hall, you know, I wouldn't charge, I've never charged to do a wedding here. It really isn't my intention to do that. And I know that the former town clerk,
Right.
Barbara Grattan, never charged
Never
here in
charged,
town
right.
hall.
And we just make sure that now we're giving part-time jobs to people. I just wanna make sure that they start charging town, that's all. You understand?
Well, for the most part, I would still be doing the weddings here in town hall. I think for the weddings that people request weddings to be done on weekends on the outside at you know, the different catering halls, that becomes difficult. So that's why I
Right.
thought that maybe it would be good to have an additional marriage officer to help those couples out. They have trouble finding a marriage officiant.
Well,
They're
I
not
didn't
connected
understand
to.
why your deputy couldn't be an additional, that's my own personal opinion. She's your
If you
deputy.
wanted it, we
But
gave it to him, and
anyway,
I'm happy to give it to him.
Thursday has the
you know.
authority.
Alright, John, if you wanna research further with the town attorney's office about charging non-residents, that's fine, but I'm of the opinion, leave it alone. You guys are governed by state law and what you can charge, and
Yes,
I'm
we
not
are.
inclined to monkey with that. I understand your thought about charging in town hall if they say they're not doing it. That's okay with me. If you wanna do something where you're charging a $40 town fee, you're probably gonna have to do it across the board, that's my opinion. Legally, you're gonna have to ask the town attorneys, but if we establish a $40 fee, then probably you're not gonna be able to charge anything, and that accomplishes your purpose. That they can't charge in town, cause we'll be charging.
Well, if we
We'll
can
take the
charge-
vig.
Yeah, if we can charge you out.
Alright, talk to the town attorney's
But anyway,
office.
I'll talk to the town attorney.
We have resolutions,
uh,
Tara? Oh,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Get the resolution before you
I just don't feel that,
go.
you know,
Oh, these
there's
are
no way to
resolutions for
monitor
Tuesday.
that, and there's no way to monitor it, that's,
For
that's
39,000,
nothing.
effective Monday.
Thank you.
Wow, I like it.
Huh?
where's Jim?
I'll go get Jim.
Dead air. Anybody want to sing a song? Oh, Jim's not here. Oh, boy.
He probably went out to have a cigarette.
There you go.
I should play back a recording of him singing Summer Wind on my.
That's right, see?
Just line up a wedding, good Jim.
a wedding.
All right. Resolution 1, this is the insurance, not insurance, budget adjustment for the ambulance district, $100,000 that I talked about earlier. 2, increase petty cash to JAB. I don't know why they need it, but that's.
Mentoring matters, it says various supplies for mentoring.
Oh,
matters.
right, yep.
Okay.
3, Department of Justice JAB youth grant budget adjustment, federal aid, because we're getting the income in and paying it out. 4, general fund police budget adjustment, deferred revenue forfeiture to supplies.
I just, on this last resolution, number 3, where it's federal aid, Department of Justice, 55,000, and it goes towards the salaries of the JAB officer. I did request from all the department heads any grant money that offsets salaries within the department or any other funds that come in, because this money, I believe Bill
No, this
confirmed,
goes
is
to the-
not in the budget as a revenue.
Wait, this goes to the, not the JB officer. This goes to the one that's the director of the mentoring matters.
I think
It's
this
a
is in the
$100,000 grant that we got for 3 years, and that's what this is for.
Okay, but I thought that this wasn't in the budget for next year. I'm not sure, but just, I'm waiting to hear back from the police.
But that's.
As a revenue,
yeah,
so
that's
that might
the-
be an
that's the youth-
additional.
That's the youth
Find out
bureau.
quick if you're gonna.
Yeah, well, I
What's
think
the
he's on
use- what?
vacation, isn't he?
There's not.
He's at a meeting. 4 o'clock, general fund police budget adoption, adjustment, $886.
That's what it costs, that, for the key fobs, that's not there. That's all.
5, establishes the 13th annual Riverhead Bonfire and Holiday Celebration,
On the
December
8th,
9th.
December 8th, and the rain date is.
Oh, December 8th, you're right. 4 to 10. 6, authorizes supervisor to sign signed amendment to extend contract with New York State Affordable Housing Corporation for $200,000 to support the Town of Riverhead Home Improvement Project. That's our block grant money. 7, rescinds resolution number 591 entitled Awards Bid for GE Evolve LED Avery Post Top Streetlights. This is the one for downtown that we're putting some now new block grant money in towards it. This is the one that we actually used to put on the streetlights, so we could do those LED. Those LED streetlights are fantastic on
Oh,
they
on
look
the main
nice,
roads. They really work nice. It's like beautiful.
Saves a lot of money, electric.
8, budget adjustment, utilities.
This is the one that was already signed, Sean, this is for the.
Oh, for the George Young Community Center for the heat air handler.
While
Oh,
I'm
they
on this,
fixed this one.
while I'm at this subject,
Yes, yesterday.
to be the engineer should be here. While I'm on the subject, when you look at the Jamesport Community Center, you know, you got the cupola on
Cupola?
top,
Yeah.
which needs extensive
Oh, yeah.
work, whatever.
Forever.
But if we can probably, whatever, sandblast it, repaint it, and it would hold, because it looks terrible for 5 years, I know we can. And I've worked with the resident in Riverhead that will totally donate
Yeah, that's what
the
he
money
was-
for it.
I don't know why
Ken,
he was
it's-
doing that. I don't know what happened.
Right, well, what happened was, I guess, in the conversation with Ken, which I haven't, this person had was that, you know, he agrees it has to be totally rebuilt. But in the meantime, if she's willing to pay for 3 years, and already got bids on it, and she will pay the amount for it. Is
Ask
the board, we'll ask legal how we can let a contractor come and do it, but the money will be donated. So I'll talk
They'd
to
have to pay
Ken.
prevailing wage rates.
I don't know if not if it's a donation, I'm not
It's a
sure.
No, they would.
donation, and a donation?
I'm not sure.
Because somebody's actually willing
But Ken's
to
coming
donate.
in next week for, well, Tara, write this down, because
Put that on
I
the-
want him in next week, or the week after.
Yeah, the next work session.
For, I want to find out the status of our Justice Court Police Complex
RFP.
engineering bid, and that And George's thing.
And when you're talking about 10 tenths, the parking, just, the lights are not working behind the stores on Main Street.
No, I think they
Now
got
they
the
are,
electric on.
Huh?
as of, Tuesday night.
Yep, they're on.
They're on?
See how
Tuesday
quick
night.
Ken is?
Ken,
Got
okay,
right on
'cause
that.
I spoke to Ken and he, said he's getting on it, okay.
8, okay, so utilities, we talked about that. 9, police department budget adjustment, 8 new tasers for the police personnel. Shocking.
Wow.
That always sounds like something Jim would say.
I thought about it.
Training expense to training equipment. 10, ratifies promotion of a detective.
This is as per contractual,
Right,
that they
okay.
get promoted.
Yeah,
after
5 years.
11, accepts the resignation of a part-time police officer, Patrick Glenn. Thank you.
I liked Glenn, he was great.
Maryland.
Yeah, he's got a job in Virginia.
12, authorizes, is it Virginia or Maryland?
Maryland.
Maryland.
12,
Somewhere there.
authorizes town clerk to publish and post a help wanted ad for a part-time kennel attendant.
Did we lose one?
Is she still a little sick from the dog bite?
Yeah, but, I mean, this is part-time. Did we lose one? Did the guy leave? Jake or Jack?
I don't know. Yes. 13, adjusts metered water district, Calverton Sewer District.
Well, let's go back to this one. I wanna ask you a question on a dog. Seeing state law says we need someone to
Dog
pick up.
catcher.
Yes, and we don't have one right now. She's out sick.
No, we
after-
have,
We have Maureen.
Do we
Maureen.
have another one?
Yeah,
Okay, that's
part-time,
what I'm
but
asking you. All
she's
right,
working again.
part-time, right?
yeah, well,
No,
Okay.
she's filling in now.
she's gonna, you know what, I think that, Jessica's coming back.
Yes, I talked to Jessica last week. Yeah, probably another week.
Okay, 13, adjusts metered water reading at Calverton Sewer District. Mike, what is this? I know what it is, but you wanna,
Michael.
Michael, you wanna just tell us what this is, or
Which one?
The adjustment.
adjusts metered
For the
water
building
district
supply.
at Calverton?
There was a water leak on the service that was witnessed by the water district.
Mhm.
There's
Back
a
in
letter
December.
attached to, Sean.
They sent us a letter back in June that's attached. It explains the
Okay.
adjustment.
You just went back to their average and you're gonna credit it back.
Okay. 14, rejects bids for Calverton Sewer District Extension Number 1, Berman Calverton Sanitary Pump Upgrades. Was this just too, come in too high?
What we did was, we redid the bids and then we sent it back out and, yeah, it came in too high. So what we're doing is redoing the bids again, and we're pre-purchasing the equipment to avoid a 20% markup by the contractor. That's what they get.
What?
So
So we think we could come in on the, under where we need to come? I didn't read this one.
We could say probably,
I didn't see this one, this letter.
60,000.
Okay, that's thinking.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. 15, approves extension of security posted by Birchwood at Wading River LLC in connection with the subdivision entitled Birchwood at Wading River, Section 3.
Again, it's Birchwood.
Okay,
Yeah.
now this was, 16 was tabled. What, have we found anything out?
Well, we wanted to know about Maureen's Haven, I think. The 16.
No, the homeless outreach, yeah.
Yeah, we wanted to
Open
put,
arms
we talked
and-
about
and-
putting Maureen's
and-
Haven in there, and I think
Yeah.
Chris was gonna put Maureen's Haven in and see where we wound up.
So, what are we gonna do with this one? We're gonna,
Yeah, well, you don't have to I think we wanted to put Maureen's Haven in, that was
right, we
my-
wanted to put Maureen's
Just
Haven
tell
in.
Chris to put Maureen's Haven in and see what happens. We
Well,
make it.
yeah, I know there was a question why it wasn't
Well,
there.
5
so-
and 5, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's tell her to put Maureen's Haven in and
Okay.
see whether they go. All right. Well, now we need Diane back for our board meeting and the town attorney. Do you want to take a 5-minute break before the board meeting?
Yeah, please. If we got part,
Yeah, well, we gotta get everybody in here, so let's take a quick break.
Do we have a price in here?
Okay, you want to?
Okay, you know what? We're gonna call the meeting to order. We had a special town board meeting, and why don't we say the Pledge of Allegiance again?
Okay.
John?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, looks like we have two CDA resolutions and one town board resolution. Diane, you want to call the CDA or?
Well, I'd like to
Diane?
make a motion that we would.
Oh,
do a
yes, go
Special board meeting, that we close the board meeting and open the community development meeting for 2 resolutions. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
The CDA meeting is now open. CDA Resolution 17.
Authorize the chairman of the Town of Riverhead Community Development Agency to enter into a licensing agreement for the use of the runway and taxiway areas at Enterprise Park at Calverton for temporary storage of cars damaged by Hurricane Sandy. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted. CDA Resolution 18.
Councilwoman Giglio.
Oh. Authorize the chairman of the Town of Riverhead Community Development Agency to enter into an agreement with Corporate Realty Services in connection with a license agreement for the use of the runway and taxiway areas at the Enterprise Park at Calverton for the temporary storage of cars damaged by Hurricane Sandy. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
Resolution adopted.
I move that we close the Community Development Agency meeting and reopen the town board meeting. So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes.
The town board meeting is now reopened. Resolution 871.
871 appoints a town board coordinator. So moved.
And seconded.
Moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
Yes.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
No.
Resolution adopted.
That concludes the
I make a motion.
motion to,
Adjourn the town board meeting. So moved.
And seconded.
moved and seconded, vote please.
Giglio.
Yes.
Gabrielson.
Yes.
Wooten.
No.
Dunleavy.
Yes.
Walter.
Yes. Okay, I think that concludes our business, thank you.
Congratulations.